What's going on, everybody? My name's Joey Gramonik, Chicago Joey. Welcome back to the Poker Live podcast. Before we get into today's guest, a couple things. We got the clothing, man. The clothing's going crazy. The GTO is a way of life. Eat, sleep, PLO, and hashtag more rake. Obviously, we support more rake out there. More rake to you and your loved ones, of course. And last week podcast, we had Doug Polk, Kev Math, and Matt Glantz. This week, outside of today's podcast, we have Wednesday. We have one of my most popular, my favorite TED Talks ever. This guy named Dr. Ivan Joseph. He's an expert, an alleged expert on self-confidence. And I invited him on the podcast because I really love his talk. I love his content, and I'm going to have him on. So we're going to see how we're going to have a discussion on self-confidence. And I think it'll be really good to be able to tie into poker as well. And let's get into it. Joining me today is a man who used to be a great game, a pot limit Omaha player, a man who used to play 24-hour-long pot limit Omaha sessions, a man who has now become a guy who streams a lot on Twitch, one of the most popular poker streamers on Twitch. He has not lost his insane work ethic, which is one of my favorite things about him since I pretty much known him. And a man who is, I don't know, man, he has a great time. He's got a very unique personality for a poker streamer, and a guy I'm happy to have back on the podcast. We're joined by Lex Veldhuis, a.k.a. Raszi. What's happening, Poppy? Welcome back to the podcast today, man.
What's up, dude? Your intros are the sickest, man. Thanks a lot, dude.
So, Lex, man, I mean, lots changed, I feel like, since the last time we had you on the podcast. Now, you are like officially Twitch streamer, which kind of makes sense because you always have this very outgoing personality. You have this insane work ethic. People find you very entertaining. You're not a fucking nit, which obviously I love. You know, I love the crazy players. So it kind of seems like you and Twitch are almost made for each other. And now with the success that you've been having on there, it seems like that's pretty correct.
Yeah, it's just funny because so many things fell into place at the right time. And I've always watched so much Twitch. I've always been watching video games and stuff on there. So I always felt kind of like the platform was good for me in a way where it felt like home, or I understand the platform, the people that come there. I even think a lot of the trolling is funny, which is pretty rare. I don't know. So at a certain point, I just decided, like, let's make the jump. It was like after Elite ended, and I had to think to myself, what am I going to do? Am I going to hit the lab for 2 months and like really beef up on PLO? You know, like I was automatic piloting a little bit more because of Elite. And then I thought to myself, either I'm going to do that, and do I really feel up to that? And I didn't really feel the burn, and you really need to feel the burn to do that, to put in that work. And then I thought, why not try out this Twitch thing? And it's been absolutely fucking great. So.
Yeah, so when you first started on Twitch, you were playing Pot Limit Omaha. You were trying to play that on stream. As we both know, to play Pot Limit Omaha on stream, I mean, if you're playing mid-stakes and above on PokerStars, you're going to need a lot of mental energy you're putting into many decisions. And talking with chat and talking with people and processing that is probably not going to be a winning formula overall. And then it seemed like that you switched to tournaments, and then instantly you were just having a bunch of success. So is it confirmed that tournaments are indeed easier than mid-stakes Pot Limit Omaha on the internet right now?
Yeah, I think that tournaments is one of the softest things, to be honest, that there is. It was really weird, like you say. Like I started, and I thought, okay, there's not a lot of PLO streamers. Let's try this out, and I'm going to show these guys like how great and crazy this game is. And then I was playing, and I was playing 2.5/5, and I had like a 3 buy-in stacks. So I was sitting with $1,500, and stacks are flying around in PLO. And then people just said to me, yeah, can you play the big 22 and the big 44, please? I was like, what the fuck? I was like, guys, I'm playing PLO,
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't get much better than this, or more action or something. No, can you please play those tournaments? I was like, fuck, I'll give it a try. It felt really stressful to play PLO because it's like in Hold'em, you have all these spots where you're just like, oh, this is kind of like a check fold, or I check razor sometimes. But PLO, you need to look at every single flop decision, right? Like that's why we both found out that multi-tabling PLO doesn't work. You can't approach it the same as Hold'em. And then with streaming, you have like, at that point I had a few hundred viewers in there, and I was just watching the chat, streaming, figuring out all the technical stuff, and then trying to play PLO. I was fucking exhausted after 3 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, is this my life now? Am I going to do this? Because then I'm just going to go back to the lab. And then when they asked for tournaments, I don't know. It's nice to, like, people think that they live through me when they watch the stream, but it's actually the other way around. Like, I live through the people that watch, through their excitement, and how much they like watching and the winning experience and stuff. Because especially at the start, it was kind of hard to get triggered by the buy-ins and the amounts and stuff. But now it's like there's 2,000, 3,000 people in there. You're winning a tournament. The chat's going fucking ballistic. It's really easy to get hyped up yourself. So it's kind of like a symbiosis or something. Like they help me and I help them. So yeah, and then tournaments it's just the illest thing there is, because there's an ending point, and that's the most important thing about Twitch. There's a victory.
So did you just say tournaments are what did you call tournaments? The most illest thing?
For Twitch, yeah, by far.
Okay. I thought.
Yeah.
No. So I got a message. I got a concerned message before we started the podcast today from a guy, and he said Lex has stated that, I don't know if he said stated, but Lex thinks that live multi-table tournaments are more fun than Pop Omaha. Is that something that you've been recently known to say, or is this
No, that's bullshit. No, I have to say though, I will say one thing, is that I still think that a lot of MTT players are clowns, but I have very much respect for the good MTT players now. There's some people who are putting in some serious work. There's some guys who are putting you to the test. So when I say MTT players are clowns, it's kind of like the things that people had to do so far to make money compared to what like some cash game players had to do. You can't put it in, like, you can't compare the two. Like what a good PLO player did or figured out to do. Like MTT players kind of just ABC'd their way into profit, but the guys who are really crushing, those are beasts. And I really like the current the meta that everything becomes a little bit wider. GTO is actually, like, people used to interpret everything GTO as the complete nittiest way. I can't lose money, must be a robot, no holes in game, And now it's all kind of like, oh shit, like I just need to be super wide, really aggressive in this spot. So it's becoming really wide, and it's kind of like I missed the completely boring part of Hold'em, and now it's getting fun again.
It's interesting. So it seems like you're able to take a lot of the things that you did in PLO and sort of kind of apply the concepts and the ideas to no limit. And it just so happens that now is that time where people are playing aggressive. They're kind of taking to the streets and they are mixing up a little bit and battling.
Yeah, it's like, in PLO spots, you're always like, and you make the joke, right? The runner, quad draw, stuff like that. But it's actually more, how do you say that, like current than you think it is, or that's the way it is in Hold'em too now. Well, I do have backdoors and I have like overs to the middle card, so there's a lot possible here. So let's raise, and then those become like your that's like the very bottom of your bluffing range, obviously. But I'm just saying that it's very wide, and I had a big turn off from Hold'em when I quit playing it. Like everybody was in it. Nobody was really doing anything. Everybody was checking back whenever the fun player left the table. It was just this very toxic environment where nobody wanted to play. And that seems to be completely reversed now. So it kind of went like this again. And you notice that in tournaments too. And I don't know, I respect tournaments a lot more than I used to now, especially because you see so many people with the most insane graph, and they actually put so much pressure at the table that I think, wow, I respect.
Yeah, for those who don't know much about Lex, I mean, I felt like a lot of people already know a lot of Lex's backstory before I kind of got into the podcast. But, Lex been playing, I mean, how long you been playing Lex? Like 10, 13, 14, 15 years, something like that? 12
years, I think.
Yeah, 12 years. And so I guess the first kind of, played a lot of online high stakes cash back in the day too. And then, Supernova Elite multiple times, was on television for those big bluffs he did. High stakes poker, he's got a couple really fun hands on high stakes poker as well too. Started playing a lot of PLO cash, played a lot of tables there. And that's what you've been sort of doing, I think, for the past bunch of years until you made this transition to more of the Twitch and more of the tournaments. So I think that's kind of like the little rundown. So you've obviously been around poker in every facet, live tournaments, online NL cash, online PLO cash, and now online tournaments. So you've kind of seen so much happen with the poker world over these past 12 years. Yeah,
for sure. It's kind of funny that I've always said, also in like, little PokerStars interviews and stuff, when they talked about me twitching, and of course you see like, oh, Lex is on Twitch, and it feels very like those messages always feel a little fabricated or whatever, right? But it is actually true that I feel like I've gone full circle in poker. Like I used to fucking love tournaments. I used to love the end psychology of the game, trying to win. And I kind of feel like when I started twitching, I kind of felt like I was more of an ambassador than a player, like I moved on or something. Like I did all the grinding stuff. Now I kind of show people how fun poker is on a platform that I truly love as well.
Right.
But now that is triggering me so much that I want to be the best in tournaments too. I was just crunching lab for like 10 hours in January. I hadn't done it in PLO in like, I don't know how long, just studying. I don't know. I think those are curse words on your stream, so I won't say the programs and stuff that we're studying with, but the dream machines.
Right. I think why that is that the path to studying Nulb and Hold'em is much more, it's sort of like laid out. Whereas at PLO, and there are some PLO things that are coming into play right now. But in terms of the way to get in the lab in the past at PLO, it hasn't been as necessarily as straightforward as like, do this, going to get you better. Whereas No Limit with the programs that are out there now, I feel like the path to get better and to really study is just like right there. It's sort of easy to enter it. And then it's a matter of just putting that time in, putting that work in, and then figuring out how can I get better from these programs.
Yeah, but that's the problem. Is like what you're saying is, and then you just put the time in. But that tenacity or that work effort to just go into the lab for 5 weeks straight or something, that's very few people possess that.
That's why very few people are winning at mid stakes above at tournaments or at cash, really, is because it's fucking hard. Like, it's tough. It's tough to do it day after day. It's tough to study your game and not always, be playing and grinding. And it's also tough to just put in long sessions day after day after day after day after day. It's just a very challenging thing. And obviously now with the landscape as it is, it's only getting kind of tougher and tougher. So I think from tournaments, you mentioned you want to be one of the best tournament players. So how does that work when you're streaming these long sessions and maybe you can't play as many tables as you might normally play? And also, I feel like obviously you're engaged in the play, but at the same time, you are also focused on the chat and on the comments. So it would seem to me that it's hard to put your full amount of faithful focus into a hand or a spot or into the information being provided to you just because you're kind of trying to do other things at one time.
Yeah, I think that's a very good point. Like, for instance, one of the things is I stream without a HUD. And that's also because I don't want to get into a situation where I make a decision that I know is good for that spot, and then 40 people in the chat going, "Oh, but that guy only had a 3-bet at 3%. Why the fuck would you do that?" I don't want to get into discussions like that because it's boring, it's useless. I do it based on information that they don't have. So to keep my stream more like chill, I don't use a HUD. And also, I think that HUDs are pretty overrated in tournaments anyway, so I'm lucky in that regard. But yeah, it's really hard to play your A+ game when you're streaming. But on the other hand, there's also, if there's 3,000 people watching and all they want to do is either have a good time, but they also want to watch somebody who they think they can learn from, who is one of the better people they can watch. If you want to be that person, then you're just going to have to play well. So, sometimes I'm playing like my A game in the smallest fucking tournaments just to show people what I can do or something, or to advertise myself, or to crush, or to, the drive of winning, and everything combined makes you play really well too. So yes, you can play your A game, but I feel that actually because of Twitch, my overall level is higher than it would normally be because there's just more people that keep me to certain standards.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense, especially, I think that Twitch probably would have been good for me back in the day because I just used to do some fucking terrible fucking plays sometimes just randomly. And that sort of happens when you're playing these very long sessions. You just go crazy sometimes. Obviously, you go crazy sometimes too. It just happens. And I think that's a really good point that Twitch just kind of hold you accountable. Or if you make a fucking dumb play, now you got the chat. They're saying all these things. They're posting on Twitter. Is Lex terrible? They maybe like a 2+2 thread about you. They're talking about this. They're talking about that. So, and I kind of want to go back to something you mentioned about HUDs, which was, I think that playing with a HUD and playing without a HUD for periods of times is really important for game development, because I think that most people that I've worked with at PLO, they're so reliant on a HUD that it's sort of shocking in a lot of ways, and that they don't even know how to play without a HUD. They don't know what to look for. And I feel like when you don't use a HUD, you have to look for and pay attention to certain things that you might not normally pay attention to. So I feel like there's a lot of value from playing with a HUD and also playing without a HUD too.
Yeah, I think so too. It's like, I think poker player requires, when people ask me like, what do I need to become? What assets do I need to have to become a good poker player? One of the first things I always mention is honesty. People will always say like, oh, this fucking moron did this. And obviously, and they even lie about their hands to make themselves look better. And that's the people that don't even aren't even affected by the results, and they still care that much to lie about their shit. So it's so easy to lie to yourself too. And I think that stats also provide you with a really, really good reason and a really easy way to lie to yourself, you know? When you're like, oh, this like everybody always fucking has it here. And then you're thinking, you have jacks, and you think, well, you know what? Fuck it. This guy has some 4-bet range of 6, and I've seen him do some crazy shit. And you go all in, and that's the only thing you remember. And even though, of course, he does have it that time, because all the other signs are there. So I think it's a very big trap for people. And that's why I would always advise people to play without a HUD for a while until they are actually good professionals, and then they can utilize the information correctly.
You mentioned honesty. I think that's something that I haven't thought that much about in terms of being honest with yourself and honest with other people. I kind of think back to my live 1-2 days back when I was 21 years old. Of course, 21 didn't break TOS, but 21. And, you know, my friend might be like, hey, Joey, how'd the session go? I'm like, man, lost with top set again. You know, it's like you're always losing with top set. The guy's always hitting the backdoor straight. I feel like, and I don't even know why. I guess you do that when you're young. You don't want to look like an idiot. You don't want to be like, I made a bad play. But I think being honest with yourself is something that makes a lot of sense. It's very interesting to think more about. What other ways would you think that applies in terms of how do you think people aren't honest with themselves when it comes to poker?
It's just like progression. Like, why are you losing? You know, the first 3 weeks are a downswing. The second 3 weeks are playing bad. You know, shit like that. It's just people get stuck. People don't take responsibility for things. People don't do that in real life, and especially when there's like hectic shit like poker happening, they just kind of zone out and get into their shell. And it's so much nicer to think when you look for responsibility outside of yourself. That guy is terrible. This guy is always lucky. I always miss flush draws. Whenever I hit kings, I finally fucking win one. You know, just about frequencies. Like, how often do you win a flip? Don't tell me that after a month somebody lost an insane amount more flips than other people. Maybe you lost like that 800 big blind pot that sometimes has to go in versus poker party or something. Those hands might really hurt you. And of course those are painful, but people aren't even honest about how many hands they win. So it's just like everything. They lie about everything. And it's so easy to do because you're the only one that sees it. You know, you're the only one that sees your hands. You're the only one that has access to your results if you want to. So, I mean, you know, that's where it starts. You need to just fucking step up and say to yourself, oh, maybe I do suck, you know? And that's why those are the same people that get angry when they ask you about a hand and you think, well, this is fucking terrible, you know? I think this is really terrible. Well, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know the guy. Like, you don't know how he plays. I play against him every day. All right, well, fuck off then, you know? Don't ask me. It's a big issue.
Yeah, I think you mentioned one, which is when you're on a downswing and people sort of lie to themselves. They say, I'm just running so bad. And I know I've certainly had this happen before too, where I'm losing for a couple of weeks and I'm like, man, I'm just running so bad. Like, what's happening? I'm playing so well. But in reality, playing pretty poorly, making some very bad decisions in these all-in spots, and I'm just not winning them because I'm getting it in with 35% equity more than I'm getting it in with 65% equity. So it's kind of like, I feel like in spots like that, that's a very good point. And it's very hard to have a honest assessment sometimes when it's just you in it and you're playing so much volume and so many hands. So what would be a suggestion you might have for people to be able to take a better look, an honest look at their recent play and sort of look at it from a more objective viewpoint when there's just so much emotion involved in it?
I would say also that coaching, talking to friends, like talking to peers is one of the best things. It's like being vulnerable, and it requires you to explain your thought process. And that's one of the things whenever I would have friends studying or whatever, I would give coaching to somebody, I would always say, that's the first thing you do. Somebody says, okay, so I raise. Why? Mm-hmm. And then they're like, what? I always raise. Yeah, okay, but why do you do it? Okay, and he bets, so I check call. Why? What's your plan? And then people, they're forced to think a certain way to explain their thoughts, and that's just something you don't see people do very often, and it's something they skip. That's the first part of studying too, right? Hitting the lab. Just looking at your hands and just looking at it, and I was like, why do I do this? That's the very first step of studying. You can make yourself better just by learning to express your thoughts, because then you can see the holes in your thoughts too. Because then all of a sudden you see like, oh, maybe okay, so I should have never been on this turn, and now I lied to myself like, oh, I could have never gotten away from this turn, and now I lost a lot of money because I'm unlucky because I don't hit it. So you learn to get the kinks out of your thought process. But talking to friends, like, you can even find people at the table. Yo, dude, I respect your game. Do you want to talk strat sometime? Like, how often didn't we do that, like, back in the day,
Yeah, I was just thinking about that yesterday, was that the community, I think more from PLO, the PLO community was so much, different years ago, as you kind of knew everybody else that played, and you guys even talked some hands, and you posted some hands and talked some strat. But nowadays, it seems that, a lot of the PLO games have gone a little underground. Whether they're private games online, whether they're private games in around the world, whether they're untracked country websites that I don't want to mention because people get upset. So it's often where you're not, like, even like an anonymous site like a Bovada, where I know when I'm playing, like, I'm not necessarily looking for the other 10, 20 regulars and saying, hey, let's talk some 10, 20 strategy, especially with a good win rate. You're a little bit, I'm usually scared to share a lot of those strategy, because if one player gets better, he might share it with 3 other players. And then at higher stakes, all of a sudden you got people playing much better in the games. And I think that's sort of what happened right now with a lot of the online cash and even live cash, is that people don't really want to get someone else better, so they don't talk at all. And I don't know if that's a good mindset or a bad mindset to take with it, but it's been something I've been thinking about a little bit more lately.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot easier for people who play mid stakes. It's so much easier to find competition without running into each other's hairs. I mean, like, for instance, like Louty and Barry Sweet, they play pretty similar. Are they really gonna sit down and talk strat a lot together? Like, the fuck, that's dangerous for them both. Also because they're both fucking crazy, so they're just gonna both end up being in pots together. But you can't see Louty like talking strat to somebody like Ben86 because they're so opposite. They're like GTO, exploitative, whatever. So, but as your player pool grows, it's easy. Like, you could even say something like, all right, well, there's 50 mid stakes, 50 cents, $1 tables on Stars. We're just gonna pick different ones to play at. So
Yeah,
I think that reaching out is a big part. I think that Louty gave me, like, I remember we did a podcast. I was absolutely fucking murdering 500 Zoom PLO, and I was running like a saint. Like, I hadn't done anything wrong in my life,
No,
That's the way I was running.
You were up like 75,000 or something like that, I think, that time.
Yeah, like, I peaked at, like, I had a 200 buy a month at 2.5, 5, and then I kind of started wind tilting in a way where I remember you saying something to me when you were upswinging once, and I kind of sometimes say it back to you as a joke, but you kind of think, I thought that too, like, you kind of think like you figured something out.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But you didn't. You're just running really well, but you need friends to tell you that. Like, what the fuck, dude? Like, what you're doing, this is not sustainable. And you can win tilt too. Like, you can stop playing solid when you stop winning, and then you're gonna push that further. And then after a certain point, you get into this gray twilight area where all of the things that you thought you learned that beat the game don't work. All of the adjustments because you're losing don't work anymore, and you just fucking go down. And that's what I had too. Like, I just lost a lot back from that upswing. And then I called Louty and I was like, yo, dude, I need help. Like, I need help. And then he's like, oh, sure, dude, come by. And then he would just coach me, fucking nicest guy in the world. I mean, we're friends, but still, like, I played in the same game as him. Fucking same game. So there's no, I mean, of course you want your friends to do well, but you know how it is in poker. Like, right. If he plays against me every day, it's not going to be like, oh, you should do this, you should that. But he would actually tell me, he's like, you're playing really bad. You've been awake for too long. You're doing this and this wrong. And I was playing him heads up. I was like, what the fuck? This is the nicest guy in the world, just because he genuinely cares. Like, he put that, like, friendship above money and everything. So I was like, yo, can I come by? He's like, sure. So I just sit there. He just gives me like 30 hours of coaching. And then all of a sudden you see, like, holy fuck, there's so much that I'm doing wrong that got into my game. And you just need the honesty of a person that you respect to show you that. And you need to be able to listen to that yourself, because a lot of people that ask for advice don't want to hear it.
Yeah, I think a lot of times when you really respect someone that's giving you advice, whether it's poker advice or life advice, you're going to be much more inclined to listen to them and take it in and give it a lot of thought. Whereas if you don't have a ton of respect for somebody else when they start giving you poker hand advice, you're like, all right, Jerry, like, shut the fuck up, So it's sort of like, but when you do, like someone like Lottie. So for those who don't know, Lottie is a longtime high stakes PLO player. He's a crusher. He's fucking sick. One of the best. His graph. I don't know if he actually loses money, but yeah, he also is. He's Dutch, and him and Lex. You guys live so close to each other, correct?
Yeah, I mean, for American standards, we live really like he's in Amsterdam. I live in the south, so it's like a 1 hour 45-minute drive, which is enough for people in Holland to only see each other once a year. So it's a small country. So I mean, we definitely talked more when I played a lot of PLO still, but we've always been really good, and you know that PLO players just connect. There's just a certain way. You need to have a certain. Even the nits need to have a certain fucked up thing in their mind that you can connect to. It's.
I definitely agree. I mean, I feel like anytime I've ever talked to an online PLO player, there's always. I mean, you definitely connect pretty easily because to play PLO, you got to be a bit insane. And although I have talked to some nits who played the lower stakes, and I don't know, they don't necessarily have that same PLO.
No, that's true, yeah.
They don't have that same PLO when you think about Pot Limit, the great game. They don't have it, but. So what's kind of happening with Lottie right now? Has he been playing a lot? Because I haven't been necessarily following too much what's happening with the higher stakes on Stars these past couple months, and it seems like there really aren't many hands being posted in the high stakes thread anymore. 2+2. I mean, like no one's really even chatting anymore. I'm kind of been a part of communities online, like on Skype groups, and a lot of guys are traveling now, playing in these random games in Australia or random games in other places. So, what have you been hearing about the online PLO community these days?
Just like games been kind of dead. That's all I hear is that games are just kind of dead, and Veldhuis just kind of sick of it. He had a pretty rough year. I mean, overall, he's just still an absolute crusher, but he had a pretty rough year, and now he's just I don't know. I think he's considering some things like what he wants to do. There was also a really crazy PLO game in Amsterdam, in the Holland Casino for a long time, but that was actually pretty cool. There were some cool people playing. There's a momentum shift in the Dutch underground scene. It used to be the craziest games with like this crazy shit happening and all like gangsters and people and just insane settings where you just sometimes walk in is what the fuck is going on here, or people playing for 30-40 hours. And now there's kind of like a scene where everybody plays in the casino because too much bullshit happened. Everybody playing in the casino, and but now it's just like kind of guys circle jerking about the fact that they're in that game. It's like, oh shit, I'm playing that game. I got in, and it's just kind of like it lost the mysticism of the underground games. But that was a really cool, crazy PLO game where people had like 5 to 6 digit swings in a session. So Bill Perkins was there for a while, and Lauti played that one. But I don't know. He seems to be a bit turned off by the online climate right now. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's very disappointing. It's very sad when you think about it because I think PLO used to be online, used to be a great game. A lot of action, all stakes, a lot of higher stakes action. And now it seems like, obviously this was expected to happen with the rake changes, removing the rake back.
Yeah.
It's just normal. This was going to happen at some point in time. And it's just kind of unfortunate. I don't know if it comes back. I mean, maybe with Run It Once Poker, if that does come out with Phil Galfon's site, we might see something back, but I'm just not really sure if like that's kind of the hope it seems like for PLO right now. And I don't know, it's not looking the best, which makes me sad. It definitely sucks.
Yeah, but on the other hand, like, I mean, we're both, I'm definitely not, not near one of the best PLO players in the world, but I do have a certain amount of fundamentals that I got there. So maybe if it's a dying game, nobody will ever learn that anymore. And whenever there's like a mixed live game and they say PLO, I can always be like, all right, let's go, but no, it's a very sad thing. Yeah, what you're saying is true. Maybe stuff like that will come back. Like maybe it would just be good for poker in general if there were other sites that would do well. And I mean, I think everybody can agree on that too. It drives, like, competition is always good. I mean, yes, of course, I'm sponsored by Stars, but I would be cool for me to see. Like, let's see it. Fuck it. Let's go. Let's start competition. Like, let's get all the creative minds rolling again and do stuff like that. But at the moment, it's just really, I haven't checked the PLO lobbies in a while, but I usually see like 2 people sitting out at a table. And then there's, of course, the Zoom games still run.
Mm-hmm.
Lovely 2.5 Zoom still runs. Which, there's still, you can still make a lot of money in there, but I think it's also a trend though. I think that PLO just had like a fast course, what Holden went through as well, where just the high stakes kind of dried up a lot quicker than Hold'em did, but people already knew how to do it. You know, people already knew how to get good so quickly. Look at the fucking Ike, you know, Hollywood Haxton, fucking sitting immediately, open sitting 200, 400 after playing PLO for a few months. That's unbelievable. That is so impressive. That I don't know. To me, that is insanely impressive. And there's some other True Teller, for instance, you know. Right. And of course, there's some guys, and of course, there's a thing where bankroll plays a big part into it because Ike just has a lot of money power behind him too, where people that play 25, 5100 or something like could get at those guys, but their win rate is just too marginal to risk such a big part of their bankroll. But you can just see from that, like, people just learn how to get good so quickly. So high stakes is just, I think online high stakes will always be in some kind of danger.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that the rake changes help. I don't think taking away those rewards help. I don't think that, you know, rec players see that. Even the guys who play a lot. I think of like an old Chemo KH, the old Supernova Elite guy, allegedly Prince or allegedly some fucking country, whatever. This guy's Supernova Elite. Certainly was not winning money before anything. Now that Supernova Elite's gone, now you get a guy like that who was turned on by the grind, loved to play a lot of volume. You know, those guys just sort of aren't really playing anymore, I feel like.
Yeah, and now you mentioned like one of the only true fun player elites.
That's true. I got to think about that.
I mean, if you can't just mention one outlier who has enough time and money to grind elite, you know, and say like, oh, the climate has changed so much that guys like that don't exist anymore. It was a fucking miracle a guy like that existed anyway.
That's true. I need to run through the old SNEs, the Supernova Elites too. I guess also just Supernova Elite in general, now you get the professional players who used to go for Elite, they just play less too. So at least before, when they're playing more, there were still more games, potentially people to sit in. So now if those guys aren't playing, then it's just...
Yeah, of course. It's also just like, I think that people underestimate. I think a lot of people that play higher stakes or mid to higher stakes that are unhappy with rate changes, climate changes, policy changes, they don't understand like all the stuff that they did as well to make it such a more harsh, predatory world. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. There's always like it always comes from different ways. Of course, that the fact that there's no rewards there, that doesn't help at all. That's gonna make people less inclined to battle and everything. But I mean, seeding scripts, Jesus, you know, like what did that do? What did that do to online poker? Like seeding scripts, what the fuck, man? That's like one of the most predatory things. That's probably the most singular predatory thing that's ever created in online poker is seeding scripts.
Yeah, I mean, I think that anytime you're even a regular or you're a kind of a fun player, you see the same motherfucking Eastern European guys sitting to your left within 0.001 seconds. Okay, sure, maybe like 2 months, cool, but yeah, 6, 7, 8 months, 12 months. I don't know. I mean, I think that's going to turn a lot of people off to wanting to play on PokerStars. Or even, I mean, any site. It's not like they just exist on Stars; they exist on other sites as well too.
Yeah, so everywhere. And of course, it's also something you can't stop, you know. But you need to realize it's there because there's one guy that's gonna say, "I don't give a shit about all you guys and the long term. I'm just gonna do this right now," and then make a lot of money. And then other people are like, "Well, this guy's doing it," so it's kind of an environment you can't really stop. I think that the changes that Stars implemented in Spain are going to be really awesome. With the lobbies and stuff, so that might be a really good solution. Like, I mean, they're thinking a lot about it, so that's really good. But yeah, I mean, imagine walking outside of your house and every time you walk out the door, immediately some fucker who wants to fight you runs up because he knows you're leaving the house, you know, get into your face and like, what the? Not again, dude! Come on, fuck, really?
That's a good point.
Fuck, there he is again. God. Sit down at the bar, you know, and immediately, like, imagine a girl just like leaving her house and some guy just turns around the corner, knew you were leaving the house.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that, you know, a lot of people talked about. Why haven't they gotten rid of it? Why wasn't they ever banned? And, you know, I think a Stars stance on it was always that there was really nothing they could do about it. But as you mentioned, I think I've heard a little bit about the changes they've made and they've tested out. And I guess it's going to be something where it's not regular tables as it is now. But how does it work exactly? What is the specifics of the changes that they made for cash game tables there?
I think it's more kind of like I don't know the exact specifics, but because I only read about what they did in Spain, actually, because you tweeted something about it. So, but it's something where you can't really pick a seat. You have to like what I heard is that it's kind of similar to a cash game in Vegas, where you have 1 or 2 May games with 3 must moves. Like, you just must move. Yo, you're up for the next table. I don't want it. Then get the fuck out of the rotation. You know, you can't sit down back at this table anymore. So you're kind of more forced to join certain tables with a little more anonymous things without going fully anonymous. You know, it's and this way, if you have like more dynamic tables, it also kind of stops seed scripting, I guess, in that way. I mean, I would think that it's kind of hard, but again, like, don't pin me down on that. I don't know the details from Stars or anything, but that's what I heard about Spain. So I think that's a really interesting solution, and that could definitely make things a little bit more healthy again. GG Dan.
And I kind of want to say that, you know, we talk about this stuff, but I still feel like there is a lot of money to be made playing Potman Omaha, to be playing No Limit Hold'em cash games live or online. It's not as a direct path as it may have been before, where you start at smaller stakes, you work your way up the stakes, you aspire to get to the high stakes, and eventually you might be able to get there. Now you sort of have to maneuver a bit differently, but I guess that's only natural. Things evolve, the way you do it evolves. So I think that when it comes to people thinking about, should I still try to get better at PLO? Should I still try to get better at No Limit Hold'em cash? I think the answer is definitely yes, because in that process, you do learn other abilities that then carry over to other things you might do in your life. So it's not like, I got better at poker, like, what can I do with that? I feel like there's a lot of things you can do with those qualities you build up. So, and also, there's just a lot of games to play and a lot of money to be won out there.
Yeah, that's one of the things where when there's discussion about rig changes or, you know, certain formats being rigged more, like, in a way, it's of course it has a really insane short-term impact on somebody. But in poker, you do have to be kind of dynamic. You, like, okay, you know, Elite was canceled. That's where the most of my income was coming from, was Elite. You just have to find something new. Okay, so I have poker qualities. You know, I have the skill set to become good at one of the games. All right. Well, apparently tournaments are very soft. Let's see how it goes. You know, and of course Twitch helped in that. But I mean, people that say like, oh, now I can't grind spin and goes hardcore anymore. All right, try out tournaments. You know, why not? Try out tournaments. Like, you have a certain skill set that's very relatable to tournaments. So, you know, so you have, like you say, you have to kind of find your way. You have to be able to move. You know, I mean, there was this thing. I mean, look at the live players, like the people that were pre-poker boom, right? Oh, sick! I'm the best limit Hold'em player and the best 08 Omaha player in the world. I'm like one of the biggest earners. Now online poker comes and there's no limit Hold'em, and everybody realizes that full ring limit Hold'em is the shittiest game ever created. And then they switch. Okay, cool. You know, now tournaments are big. They switch. Cool. That's why I respect guys like Negreanu so much, or any other of those like poker dinosaurs. They just switch and they make it work. They just find it. Like, okay, cool. It's like a migration, you know, like people migrate towards here. They're here. There's trends, there's popularities, there's live, there's online. You just have to find your way in it. And I think there's always a way to make it work.
Yeah, it certainly seems like live poker is still very popular. It seems like it's growing. The tournament scene seems like they're growing. From a lot of the places I know for cash games, it seems like that's getting bigger as well. So it doesn't seem like we're seeing and in terms of poker content, which is a whole different story, I think poker content is only getting bigger and bigger. When poker content continues to grow, then more people are going to find poker and potentially start to play poker. So yes. I think the future of poker still looks pretty good, but it's just much different than it was in the past, because it was just such a, like I said, such a direct path in the past. And now it's sort of, you want to play online, you might have to play on some of these, shady American sites, or you go play the home game with your cousin Bobby and your mom Sue or something. You play the $10 tournament there. Those are still going. Obviously, casinos, you still have that barrier to access. I don't know if I use that correctly, but you still got the 1-2 there, and more casinos are popping up. So a lot of charity games here in America. So it seems like I'm upbeat. I'm positive about the future of poker, but it's just kind of unfortunate. It feels like the game that I know I've spent a long time playing, Pot Limit Omaha. I don't know about PLO. I don't know. It seems like it's growing, but at the same time, not sure.
Do you play any live, Omaha?
I played a bit of live PLO in the past maybe year after World Series of Poker last year, but not too much live PLO, no.
You don't see yourself doing that?
What do you say?
You don't see yourself doing that?
I see myself doing more of like with my business online GTO club, or with more of content, or just kind of growing a brand. And I mean, you get a lot of opportunities. Obviously, you know this from just having some type of personal brand. You get whether it's affiliates or sponsorships or appearances or coaching, or there's all this different stuff that you can do from that. And obviously, when you have an audience, that's a powerful thing. You can do all sorts of different things with an audience, and people want to work with others who have an audience. So I feel like in terms of playing live PLO compared to building up these other qualities or skills, for me, I think in the long term, that's going to be more beneficial for myself rather than becoming entrenched in the 1020 live PLO world, or moving to Vegas or moving to LA and playing live PLO.
Yeah, it also kind of feels like when people ask me, they ask me a lot on the stream, have you ever been to Macau? I just see myself sitting in Macau, grinding some shitty ass 510 game, just to wait till some businessman wants to play some 100, 200 game, and then you jump in after 2 weeks of waiting. That sounds so horrific to me, you know? It's like I invested so much in getting better and spending time away from life or something, and now I feel like I can use my skill set in a certain way while I also enjoy life. So I do feel that grinding in that way, in that sense, just traveling around, playing underground games and shit, that's just past, you know. World has moved on. My world,
Yeah, I mean, I think we get older. We've been, played poker for so long. You get older. Eventually, you don't necessarily want to do that same thing. And I think that when you're young, you're hungry, you're excited to do stuff like that. You want to go check this place out. You want to go check that place out. And there are still people that are into year 10 plus of being poker player that still enjoy that part. But I think most of us that have been doing it for so long, not necessarily the most appealing thing. So yeah, I feel like that's why you sort of, plus it's just much different than online cash. When you're a mass multi-tabler and you go play one table, tough. It's not tough. It's different, but it's just a tough adjustment to make, I think, a lot of times.
Yeah, but it's also kind of like if you did the grind like we did it, then you burn very bright, but you also go out quicker, right? It's like, Jesus fucking Christ, I burned myself out so hard playing that hard for that many years and that many hours. Whereas I think a lot of people who are still just casually grinding, just chill, let's click this button, this looks nice, very calm, are not in the public eye or anything, that those people have a lot of energy left to still do it, where we just, burned a lot of our life stamina doing it and had to recover for a while.
Do you think that you burnt out on playing so much poker online?
I mean, I'm still like making back to back like 13-hour stream days, so no, I guess not. But to be honest, I think that it's more related to Twitch than to poker these days. Like I think that it's because of Twitch that I play so much, not so much because poker triggers me. It's that Twitch rejuvenates that or makes me look at poker in a way, but I like the contact on Twitch. And I mean, like a 13-hour stream session is as tough as playing like 28 hours of poker. It's like fucking no doubt. I did a 24-hour stream on Twitch. I was destroyed. After 20 hours, I thought like, fucking hell, I'm going to die. And I never really had that in 60-hour sessions. But after 20 hours, I mean, not really die, but
right.
I really didn't feel good. And so twitching is pretty tough. But so, it's, yeah, I don't see myself. No, I don't see myself grinded anymore. Even now, I do kind of have that feeling where, I mean, I'm probably going to play WPT down in Amsterdam. That's in like 3 weeks or something. And I do, maybe it's something weird, some childish thing where people always said like, oh, Lex sucks at tournaments. Whereas I always thought, okay, I'm really good at having a lot of big blinds and using them in tournaments, but I'm insanely bad when it comes to 30 big blinds and less. And now I kind of feel like I know both. So I kind of want to destroy people, who have no fucking clue what I've been up to. And then you just get there and you've been in the lab and learned all the things they should have done 2 years ago. And then destroy, which is kind of like vain and childish in a way, but also fun, because just destroying is fun. And I'm not even sure if I could crush, but it seems like a fun challenge. But then if you would ask me, oh, would you grind the circuit? Fuck no. Never, ever would I fucking do that. Like, I don't even, I decide to not play at night. I just don't want to take away time from my girlfriend. I don't want to take time away from my friends. I get up at 7 in the morning. and I grind during the day. And yes, it's a smaller schedule. There's less excitement, but whatever. But this is my time schedule. You know, this is when I grinded PLO as well. Like other stuff has become important as well.
Yeah, I think you told me this, and I was a little bit shocked. I got to say, I'm still shocked. When you say you're on a normal schedule, we wake up at 7 a.m.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, I don't know. I still find this hard to. I kind of want to see the receipts of you waking up at 7 a.m. each day, because that's incredibly hard for me to believe that you're staying this disciplined each day to wake up at 7 a.m. and actually get some sleep in here, man. For a guy like yourself, who I know has had a very chaotic schedule and lifestyle for many, many years, that's wild, man. It's a wild transition that you've made.
Yeah, but I mean, like, getting out of bed at 7 is actually more hardcore than getting out of bed at 10. So either you grind all night and you do crazy shit, or you play long sessions. But like getting up at 7 a.m. and hitting the gym at 8, and then grinding out, and then still putting in like 10-hour work days. I mean, you know, that sounds like normal, but it's still pretty hardcore to do that, especially when you decide your own hours. You know, when you have to get up for a boss, getting up at 7 a.m., there's no choice. But when you get up and the crack of dawn and you go fucking running, or you go lift weights or something, and then you put in work, and then you actually play poker after that too, that, you know, I can still see some autistic behavior in that. Where it's like just grinding that schedule ferociously, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I've been on a better sleep schedule these past maybe 5 or 6 months, and I was never on a sleep schedule. I mean, never in terms of, you know, past 10, 11, 12 years. I never went to bed at a normal time, woke up at the same time. It was always so chaotic, and I'm enjoying being on a wake up in the morning schedule and sort of live by the normal light hours, and live by a breakfast, lunch at, I know lunch, I'm gonna eat lunch around 1, 2, or 12, whereas before I'm eating lunch at 1 a.m. So yeah. I think it definitely can take a toll. And obviously, you know, this is what everyone's been saying this to me, and I'm sure to you, for many years now. So, but some of the chat saying this is because you got a girlfriend, and I understand how the power of a girlfriend can maybe influence you to potentially change your schedule that you have. So how much do you think is credited to the girlfriend that you have?
A lot. I mean, she gets up at 7 and she leaves at like 8. And I mean, if I can choose, okay, so I have like a free profession. So I can pretty much say, okay, this is when I do work. This is when I'm going to work out. This is when I do this. Am I really going to say, okay, in the morning, I'm going to sleep 4 hours, and then my poker will be pushed back to where I'm playing 4 hours in the evening. So she comes home at like 6. And I'm like, oh, sorry, I got out of bed late. I'll see you in 4 hours. It's kind of like, you egotistical asshole, you know, what are you doing? So I do think that it's easier for me to keep a schedule because she has one, and then my friends have the same now, and I'm just enjoying that a lot, you know. So I'm doing a lot of social things too. I'm out all the time, and it's nice, and I'm still happy because I can still work a lot, work hard on a product, a platform, put in a lot of hours, you know, grind something also for the long term. And so I feel like I got best of both now, kind of.
So with Twitch for yourself, is there some sort of goal that you have in terms of potentially, or is it just sort of build your audience up, keep doing what you're doing, keep sort of being yourself, and eventually that just growth comes with that naturally?
It's hard. Like, people underestimate Twitch. You see that kind of like, I mean, I don't mean any disrespect by this, but you see, I deleted Skype because of all the DDoS attacks and shit, but I was in this Twitch streamers chat, and everybody who ever turned a fucking camera on apparently is in there.
Bang, bang.
No, I mean, like, I'm not hating, but it's seriously, it's like, it used to be kind of like a chat where it's a Skype group, people talk about things that happen in the streaming world. There were Twitch representatives in there, and it was kind of like everybody knew what was going on, and it became more kind of like people talking, people, you know, showing up their voice, their nickname, whatever, which is fine, it's good, it's smart, you know. But the funny thing is that a lot of the talk that you see going on there with people that are smaller streamers or trying to get some traction and stuff, it's a lot of complaining. There's a lot of complaining about shit. It's complaining about.
There's definitely a lot of complaining going on in that group. I agree.
Yeah, it's like, get the pitchforks out. I'm fucking unhappy about this. Why didn't he do that? Why isn't that person hosting me whenever he got offline? Why is there this channel online? Why is there that channel online? And I think, like, you know, if you really want to do Twitch, you have to be so insanely consistent. You have to come up with certain things that make you unique. You have to tie to your audience. You can't just say like, oh, I was fucking hungover again, I'm not streaming, I don't have any viewers, I'm quitting for the day. That doesn't work. You need like tenacity, consistency. And it's easy to say because I already had a following before I started. So I'm not going to say like, oh, I started with like 2 viewers and I worked my way up or anything. But I think that, it's hard also to put goals to Twitch. Like, what am I going to say? Oh, I'm going to try to get 3,000 viewers on average. It's very unforgiving as well. Like if you drop the consistency for a bit, then you're just fucked. People, that's the ironic thing about Twitch. And I noticed that for myself too. Every morning when I wake up, I watch certain streamers. I watch like Ninja or Dr. Disrespect or Lyric or Summit. And like I watch big streamers. And when they're not there for 2 days, I forget about them and I watch somebody else. And if I enjoy that, then I'm going to keep watching that every morning until I happen to stumble upon the other person again. So you need to really always be there in Twitch. And that's the most important thing. And if something happens, if something weird happens, then you're just going to notice a drop. And people just need to be able to depend on you for being there. But that, I don't know, man. I'm already pretty amazed at how far everything has grown and the support I've gotten and stuff. So, I mean, goals, yeah, I want to keep expanding. But if it keeps like this, like what I have now, I'll be fucking perfectly happy to keep doing it,
Yeah, I think you mentioned something about complaining. And I'm obviously complaining, big thing in poker. A lot of people I talk to always complain about little. I mean, I guess not much. I kind of don't speak to a lot of those people much anymore. But I think that what happens is you realize that to have success in poker and most things, you complain, you have some success, you don't have success, whatever. But eventually that builds up to you're like, I really need to stop complaining about everything. I need to stop complaining about the rake. I need to stop complaining about the bad beats. I need to stop complaining about the fucking seat scripters that are always sitting at the table instead of me sitting there. You need to sort of figure out a way to beat that. So if the seat scripters are going to always sit at your table and they're going to not allow you to get a seat, well, how can you fix that? Right? Well, most people are like, well, fuck the seat, like seat script. They just start complaining about the seat scripters instead of trying to figure out a solution. And I think that is something that happens with a lot of poker players, especially if they're not doing very well. They just start complaining about a lot of different things. And I agree. I think that's a big thing holding a lot of people back is just this little complaining they do, whether it's to themselves or to other people about their situation. And instead of figuring out a way to try to fix their situation, or whether it's poker or life, they just sort of complain, talk negative. And I think it's something that, used to hold me back a little bit as I was moving up the stakes. And I think it's something that I noticed now in a lot of people that holds them back too.
Yeah, you come back to that earlier thing that we talked about with, being honest, taking responsibility. It's like you just stop yourself in your learning curve. And there's so many things. It's like, I had it on Twitter, for instance. Every time I opened my Twitter and I saw fucking Phil Hellmuth talking, I was like, motherfucker. And there's just other people too that every time I saw what they tweeted, I would just be like, you fake ass bitch, whatever, this, that. Yeah, but like just people that really annoy you. And then after like a few months, I was like, it's my fault. I mean, these people are just posting whatever they want. It's their fucking platform. It's my fault for following them. Like, I'm doing this to myself. It's not Phil Hellmuth that's doing it with his, bullshit or whatever. Right. That I'm doing it to myself. And the moment you realize that, you can actually take some action into your own hands and find a new way or do something different. And if you really think, okay, this is impossible because of seat scripters, I cannot find a way anymore, then just fucking quit and do something else.
The solution, guys, by the way, to that seat script problem is that, one, you find other sites, or two, you start playing heads up, you start starting tables, you start playing three-handed with better players, and you get better at the fucking game. Those are the solutions. So then you're always at the table when the fun player sits and the seat scripter takes the seat. That's what the solution is. You get in the table and you play. You maybe lose, you try to get better, you work hard at your game, you talk a lot of hands with friends, you get better at the fucking game. That's the solution, by the way. I know people don't want I know that you want an easier solution, but that's what the solution is. So good luck with taking that solution on as a thing here. So we got a lot of people in the chat, like a lot of positive comments about you, man. It does seem like that you're definitely one of people's favorite streamers out there right now, and I think it makes sense. Your personality is much different than most of the other streamers that are on Twitch. I think that you're good at the game, which I feel like does matter. So if you're great at the game, you have an entertaining personality, you have consistency, I think that's just a recipe for a lot of success. So what do you feel like is the reason that most people have such positive things to say about you in the chat right now and on social media?
I don't know. I think I let them come really close. Like I don't really care how close people get to me. I rage on the stream. I get mad too, stuff like that. I don't mute the mic when I call somebody unless it's personal from the other side or there's some shit we need to discuss, like when are we gonna play chess,
Bang bang.
But there's I don't know. I think that people like that, and that's the only way I would want it to do as well, because you can do two things when you do Twitch. You can either decide, all right, I have a very good idea of what the platform expects of me and what the product should be, or I think that people will want to watch if I just do what I do, and if they don't, they don't. That's fine too, But if I would have a product where I would just be like, I would have to block out a lot of emotions, it would be too tiring for me. But I just think people like it because, I don't know, it feels, I don't fucking know anyway. It feels like it's very swingy. Like I was talking about this one day today on the stream. One time I'm raging pretty hard sometimes. Like I get pretty mad sometimes too.
You raging pretty hard? Nah. Wouldn't have expected that ever to happen.
Like I don't know. I can get pretty mad when I play, and I've always had that. And the difference is that when I played online, I could always get as mad as I fucking wanted because at least I knew I didn't go down the trajectory of tilt. Where some people, they just sit there. It's like, I'm stoic, I'm a robot poker player. And then they all of a sudden start 3-betting in spots where they shouldn't, and they come up with another lie to themselves that they should have, and people just got lucky again. Whereas if I just scream a few times, then I get all my frustration out and I don't let the tilt come back into my game, which is the way I've always done it. But then people ask me, like, why are you always so calm in person? But that's because if you get mad in live poker, people see that they can get to you. So then you're at a disadvantage. So then you just need to solve it while being calm, But online, I like to rage, and I think people like this. Like they always know what it is what it is, and they can just decide whether they want to feel like that at that moment. But they're never surprised, and then you come back to consistency again. Like I'm always like some people always try to be on product or on message, and I can be that by just doing what I do, because I also show the really bad times, and I think that's what people like. Like I don't get embarrassed. Like sometimes I get like destroyed, whatever, and I don't mind showing that, and I think people like that.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, and that's something I've noticed in streamers over time is that their lack of authenticity, maybe sometimes in terms of only showing certain part of themselves, certain emotions, only being so vulnerable with people. And I think that's a great point you mentioned, is that you're actually just yourself. When you get angry, you get fucking angry. When you're happy, you're happy. And that's a great point. That's something that it's tough a lot of times. You got to be comfortable with yourself. You have to be confident with yourself to be able to be willing to open yourself up to all these anonymous trolls who can then say anything they want to say to you online. And obviously the less self-confidence you have in that spot, the harder a lot of these comments are going to hurt, and you're going to take them personal. And I think that is why people might just choose a strategy where they just want to portray this part of themselves that they think people are going to enjoy, therefore to negate that negative feedback they might get. And it definitely makes sense. I can understand why people would like to go upon it that way.
And I don't know. I think that when I started streaming, everybody said like you can't. And they asked me, like other streamers, Poker Stars, they asked me, they said like, what time zone are you thinking to stream? And I said, well, I want to stream EU times because that's when I was playing PLO too. Like that's what works for my life. That's what I want to do. And everybody's like, you can't do that. You can't stream in EU. Like it doesn't work. There's no viewers there. And it still worked out. And I think it's also just because, I think that certain time zones relate to certain people as well. Like, what am I going to do? Like talk to some like Swedish people, they have a very good sense of humor, for instance. They have a very dry, cynical, self-deprecating sense of humor. When I'm going to sit there and pretend everything is like nice and dandy, they're going to see through that so quickly. So I think that those people like to see a European stream. So I think that there was also a gap in the time zone that nobody was really utilizing that I kind of jumped into.
There's an interesting question I was been thinking about too. I want to get your opinion on this. Friedhoff in the chat says, do you think streaming and coaching is good for the game?
I think that I don't think coaching is good for the game because it's an individual making somebody better. It doesn't draw new people in. it makes a very small component of a whole industry better at the game, which tries it out quicker. But I think streaming is fantastic. That's why I also don't feel guilty about giving a lot of information away on the stream, because I have so many people. Like I get hosted by video streamers a lot, like Show, I Will Dominate, other big gaming streamers, Matumba Man from Dota, and they're just kind of like, there's people in my chat after 6 hours of watching, they're like, okay, so what is this big blind? So if I can trigger people like that, and there's all these people cycling, and you get high up on the rankings in Twitch, and you get hosted by gamer streamers, and you host them, and the community's kind of mixed, and I have very strong ties to Team Liquid and stuff, then I legitimately think I'm bringing a lot of new players to the game. Like I'm really expanding the player pool as much as I can, and then I also don't mind triggering them to show them the strategical aspect of poker, because that's what gamers and people on the internet like. It's like a way to self-progress and become king of the hill kind of thing. And that's always what attracted me in poker. You start at the bottom of the mountain, and you can climb, and you can beat like certain bosses and go up. It's like kind of leveling up an RPG. And I think to show people the depth and the cool thing about poker is to talk about strategy and actually try to impress people. When you say like, all right, always ace jack call, and they have ace jack, and people just go, what the fuck, what is this? I want to learn that too. That's knowledge, that's not a trick. It's not like they're click this one now, and so I do think that streaming is really good, also because poker is just like a small blimp on the streaming platform, whereas other games are gigantic. And just to be part of that platform, Twitch, I think is good for poker in general, because so many new people will see poker for the first time.
Yeah, I agree with that. In terms of, because I've been thinking about, obviously, Doug's got all the poker hands videos on YouTube. Those are getting tens of thousands of views. So I've been thinking, is that good for poker, for all these people to be getting like a video a day in terms of how to play better at poker? But I think that it does bring in a lot of new players. And I guess, it's kind of interesting. If you're a small stakes winning player, I think that it would be hurtful for you on some level, because I think that those type of videos, that type of content is making better those micro stakes, small stakes players who are maybe a little bit break even, slightly losing players. They learn a couple new things. Well, now they maybe become break even or slightly winning players. But I think overall, the type of content that's being out there right now, and even with like the training sites, I think that it is good for poker, and because more people start playing poker, and there are potentially more players just to try it out. So I've been kind of going back and forth on it. I guess I could see it either way. I'm not super convinced on that one, on that idea, but it's kind of where I'm at right now with things.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you also have to look at audiences. If you talk about, I think that, for instance, if you want to keep poker interesting on TV, you need to dumb it down. But that's just because people are sitting on their TV. They're not sitting behind a TV to have like really tough things to follow and brain crackers and stuff like that. But when people are on the computer, they're usually a little more engaged, a little more active. I mean, the amount of people with like ADD or concentration problems on the PC is massive. And, especially people that look for games and gaming platforms and stuff. So they actually need to be grasped by something. So, you trigger them by actually showing the depth into something. So, I mean, if you would show a stream on like a general TV network, it would be the worst thing ever to watch, just because it doesn't suit the platform and the people watching it. So I think that if you would put like my stream on the regular television, it would be really bad for poker. It just looks like it's fucking, what the fuck are these guys talking about? Fuck this shit, Don't feel like this right now. Poker's stupid. Because you need to trigger those people the other way. You need fucking Sammy Farah to ask, you want to chop Ellie Lesra? You want to chop it on the flop? Fucking biggest angle ever.
Dude, Sammy Farha I think he has a Potland Omaha book out there. Good stuff in that book. That is definitely the book you want to, he likes playing hands. He takes a very high percentage of hands played strategy to the table. So I would definitely recommend his book to people out there that are trying to learn the great game of Potland Omaha. When's the last time you actually played PLO, Lex? Has it been a while? Have you not played?
No, I did show people a lot I did I think PLO Tuesday. I would show people a lot of PLO. Also in a way where, I mean, like, the rake is comparatively pretty high, of course, on lower stakes, but I do think that people are doing like crazy shit enough where you can still go up as long as you don't like. I think it's a very big mistake to start with PLO in your poker career. I think it's I think if you make money in like sit and goes or tournaments or hold'em, and then from there, that point, you take like a part of your bankroll and you try PLO with it after you like read up on it, watch videos and stuff. And you have reasonably aggressive bankroll management in PLO to get out of the trenches.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's still doable, and I kind of wanted to show people that. And I did a thing with PLO Tuesday, but I played a lot on .fr, PokerStars.fr for PLO. Games were insane. I actually started playing like 10-20. I played 10-20, 5-10 PLO on there. There's some really good players, but there's also a lot of fun players. So that was really great for the stream, and I could just really, show PLO. People liked it. But then FR closed itself off, or French government decided that, if they were going to merge with Italy or whatever it is, that only French people could be on it. So Dutch people weren't allowed anymore. So, and then I kind of like, now I'm kind of in between. Like, I don't know really what to do, because you're up. Like, what am I going to do? Play 1-2 against all these regulars? I don't even know really who the regulars are anymore, who the fun players are. I'm going to open one table, play that, and then play PLO against people for 2 or 3 hours who play it every single day of the week. And then like just 8 months straight and study. That's not my grind anymore, So then, and the problem is I wouldn't even mind doing it. Like, it's not like it's a vain thing or a thing where I don't think I can do it. But there's going to be situations where I'm out of my depth, where I'm unsure who is who, what is what, like, meta game, everything.
Right.
And then I'm going to be judged on that because there's a few thousand people watching. So, I mean, then it also becomes irresponsible kind of way where, like, what if like a 50 cents, $1 regular is watching me and I say all this shit, oh, but it doesn't work out. And I'm going to become the person that's just lying because of circumstances. So I think that I might do some item where I just play some like lower stakes to like get people into the fundamentals and really explain the difference between Hold'em and PLO. But really grinded PLO, I haven't done that in a while, like since January, I think. January is the last time I played like higher than 2-4 PLO.
Lex, I got an important question for you, and I need to know your answer right now. Do you, after taking this little break, would you still say that Pot Limit Omaha is a great game?
Yes.
You'd say it's the great game of Pot Limit Omaha, correct?
Yeah, I think it's the most complex, the most challenging, and the game with the most depth in poker. I think that the fact that you know so many cards of the deck, the fact that ranges change or range advantage change every street, the amount of hands you can play, the amount of hands you can represent, the amount of bluffs you can call, the amount of blockers you can represent, it's fucking unbelievable. There's like no easy situation in PLO when people are really good. And that's so it's never like, yeah, this is bet, this is bet and then bet call. Yeah, this is bet check folds. There's no situations like that ever. It changes nonstop. It goes from like pre-flop, he seems to have the stronger range, and then, oh, that's a good flop for bet, and then the turn is the worst shit in the world, and then you need to like check call, check fold, whatever, This it's amazing. It's by far the most fun, volatile, crazy learning experience I've ever had in poker.
Get me excited over here, baby. Talking about this stuff. My God.
Yeah.
I mean, I love Pot Limit Omaha. It's I don't know, man. You play like 5 million hands of a game, man. You must start to love the game. Even though I think I played that of Nolan Hold'em, and I suppose I think I would love Nolan Hold'em if I played it more, but I just haven't played it in so long. Very rarely I played it, so it's kind of weird going back to Nolan Hold'em, and then like you get into a spot and you have a blocker, you have a flush, and then it's like a 5-high flush. You're like, man, I'm not betting. I'm like, I remember playing a live Nolan Hold'em session during last World Series, and I had a flush. I'm like, man, I don't know. I'm like gonna call his bet, and then he's like, just top 2 pair. I'm like, oh, okay, flush. He's like, well, I was like, what are you doing? I'm like, man, what are you talking? Like, it's so crazy. You go back to Nolan Hold'em and you devalue these very strong hands that just because you're shook. You get a blocker and you're like, man, pot. Like you want to put the money in with that nut flush blocker, whereas that play might not be as effective at Nolan Hold'em, and it's weird. I don't know, man. It's just so weird adjustment to have to make to go back to that 2-card game.
Yeah, it's very funny to say that. I had all these hands where I'm just like, what the fuck? This is so strong. How can he bet that board, It's just, especially flushes. Like, flushes is the one thing that you start underplaying, and people raised. I was like, this guy's fucking crazy. Like noting everybody fun player because they 3-bet queen high flush stuff. You know, it's really funny.
Yeah, 2-card game, man. So are you going to Vegas this year? Are you going to make a return to World Series of Poker?
Actually, like, I used to think, oh, cool, like I'm gonna play some live tournaments. I enjoyed playing EPT Grand Final and stuff last year in Dublin, but then after a certain point, like if you leave Twitch for 1.5, 2 weeks, you lose like 20% of your viewership, 25%. You lose subscribers and everything. And then I think to myself, so I'm building a platform all year long, and I'm gonna go somewhere to play one fucking tournament without really grinding it or putting in any volume just because it sounds like a nice idea. It just doesn't make sense. And also with the ITIN changes in Vegas where you need to request the ITIN number before you go to Vegas. Otherwise that's for Dutch people. So if you don't have an ITIN number, they withhold 30% of your winnings. And then in January, you can start a case where you can get it back 7 months after that. And then also you need to pay 29% in Holland. So it's like, it just sounds like a fucking hassle. So I don't have an active ITIN number, so I would have to register for one. And then also with the streaming and stuff, I'm just not going to go.
That does not sound fun. You're correct. I got 30%, 29%, 7 months later. It does not sound very appealing.
Yeah, it's also just like, I don't know. There's just, the Dutch tax government is just fucking prehistoric laws over here right now. So we just need to kind of grind it out and then look at what's possible in the future. I mean, tournaments in the EU are tax-free right now for Dutch people, so most Dutch people just stick to those. But it's kind of like a shit show because we can't deduct losing months, so taxes just kind of eat you up sometimes. So you need to be smart around that.
Oh, we got a question in chat. It says, Joe, you're still relatively positive about the environment, it seems. What got me into PLO is the podcast you did with Iseldrun when you said that the way to go is PLO. This was 2 years ago. It seems like what you guys are saying now is that it really doesn't matter which path you choose, as everything is relatively difficult right now. This is a question, by the way, it was like 35 minutes ago, but I copied and pasted it down. Do you guys think that there is one variant that would be best to get into in terms of, let's say, profit per effort?
I mean, I don't know. I feel like you need to build in something safe, like low player pool tournaments, no limit home cash games. That's where you need to build a little bit. Like, I mean, starting the nighttime schedule, playing the big $1 tournament on Stars, that's just going to be the most insane variance. And even if you win, you wouldn't know what to do with it. So I would start out with a lot of stuff like 45-man sit and goes, 10-cent stuff, I think that's the best way. Plus, then you also learn kind of like the tournament perspective, which is good for to learn tournaments, because I do feel like that's where a lot of the money's at, and it will always be that way. Like that's what always annoyed us, right? Like tournament players get all the glory, even though it's such a random fucking short-term thing to win a tournament. Even with the high rollers, like a lot of these guys, don't get me wrong, like a lot of those guys are beasts. They work very hard, but okay, you win 2 super high rollers. There were 20 people. That's like 2 sitting goes. It happens all day long, and you have an insane amount of information about all the players in that thing because you always play against each other. So of course, it's like those guys specifically are really good. Like Fedor is an insanely good player, but he plays sit and goes pretty much. Just grinds high stakes sit and goes.
Yeah, I mean, this obviously has been how it's been for a long time. Tournament players do tend to get the glory. Obviously, it makes sense. That's what's being put out on televised. That's what most people can relate to. That's what people. Jerry and his dad, Jackie. Whatever. That's what they're playing in their home games here. So it makes sense why tournament players do get that glory. There's the big numbers involved. There's the decisive winner. So yeah, it makes sense. Obviously, for cash game players, it has always been this point of contention, but it makes sense.
Yeah, but you also notice kind of like now where you just think, okay, yeah, but it's good that that's there. You need that kind of winning moment feel. You need to have somebody with the trophies. People need to see the end of the trajectory. Like, oh yeah, you can be very successful. Then you'll be playing 2-4. Like, what the fuck is 2-4, dude? What are you talking about? Yeah, but you grind this yearly. Dude, I just want to win something, all right? How do I win something? Tournaments. It's the best selling point for poker now. And like I was always very stubborn, but it was more out of a kind of a pride thing than when you think logically about it, of course it's normal that it's the best seller. And I think that,
kind of mentioned that. I was thinking about this, and this has kind of inspired me to come up with an idea. So I was thinking about, okay, Nolan Holden, obviously much more popular than Potman Omaha, but so why is that? Well, I think the training material out there is much more concrete. There's much more of it. There's way more sites. There's way more books. There's way more everything when it comes to playing Nolan Hold'em. So tournaments are obviously very popular. Most people play tournaments on a recreational level, so that makes sense too. So I've been thinking about it. Well, a lot of the content is geared towards directly Nolan Hold'em, and there just really isn't any PLO content. There's not much PLO material out there for training. That's some sort of, there's no super system for PLO stuff. And I've been thinking about, how could I do anything to potentially impact that? Obviously, I think that more PLO content, more PLO videos, more PLO related anything is able to have an impact on that. So I came up with an idea called Operation Pot Limit Omaha, Lex. And that is where I am going to try to turn more people on to the great game over the rest of this year. I think, there's some things in the works in terms of PLO courses. And hopefully that'll breed more PLO content creators on YouTube, and hopefully that will potentially be able to breed more Potman Omaha players. But I think that it just makes sense why Nolan Hold'em is more popular when you say all that. Just, it's easier to get better. It's easier to play. It's easier to work on your game. It's easier to just access it at all. So I think it makes a lot of sense.
But there's also there's an end in sight. There's a finish line for people in Hold'em, and PLO doesn't have that. It's too vague. So abstract. Learn PLO, win money. What the fuck? Like, how do I win money? You grind yourself up in cash games. It's just so simple. Win a tournament, win a lot of money. You buy in for 200 and you cash out 200,000. Boom, you made it. That's all you need to do. Possible every Sunday night.
Yeah, that's very true. Obviously, PLO tournaments, not many of them. There's a couple a year at the World Series of Poker that are higher buy-ins online. I don't really know what the PLO tournament scene is online, but I imagine it's not very popular. And also, PLO tournaments are just so much different than PLO cash games that it's sort of like a completely different game. There's no 3-betting really happening. There's a lot of min-raising happening. It's a very very different game than Potman Omaha cash is. So, which I kind of enjoy both. I don't want to admit that, but I sort of do enjoy the PLO tournaments. But yeah, they're right. They're just not those PLO tournaments out there for people to play.
I'm gonna grab another beer.
All right, I'll get some shout outs here, man. Guys, we got a lot of people out there tuning in right now. Who we got in the chat? Let me see who we got in the chat. Johan Vander went on YouTube. What's up, puppy? Dreamwalker. I saw my girl Scarlett out there. Sam Eldon. Who we got on Twitch, man? Toot, my skill is luck. My buddy Bruno Panda. What's up, puppy? Coramosa caramoracita. Obrigado. Obrigado. Lindo. I'm throwing some Portuguese in there, boys. Mixed in with my Spanglish. Who else we got, man? Hoodie K, The Last Ship, HBZ for life. My skill is luck. Wipes, great podcast so far. Eric Hanfield, Gus, what's up, Gus? Dylan P in the chat. The Last Ship, Masterpiece, 1. Hey, puppy. Who else we got? Rich Checkmaker, I Finger Blast, Granny's. God, I love that screen name. That's a great fucking screen name right there. I need to see some receipts on that. Corey Kenyon, I'm kidding. Charles Dorr, Masterpiece. You got some shout outs to give, Lex? Who you got out there, man? Give somebody a shout out.
Yo, we got Bruno. We got Pen on the chat, dude. Panda, Sidegasm, Milko, Sinem. There's a lot of regulars. There's a lot of new people too. Thibidao is scrolling up. Yeah, I got all my people in here.
Book me, Daniel, on YouTube. What's up, Book? I think I saw Steven in the chat. What's up, Steven Van Zelderhoff? My favorite insane. Yeah, man. He's out there right now in the chat.
Oh, shit. He's my boy. Crazy motherfucker.
16. Lex, you on Instagram? You ever go on Instagram, Lex? You heard of this before? Instagram.com?
Yeah. I'm on Instagram, but I don't like... The thing is, like, Snapchat is more my thing because I get out of line a little bit on Snapchat sometimes, so...
Oh.
But Instagram, I do like Instagram in a way, but I usually just post, like, I don't know. Yeah, it's just pictures.
I'm new to Instagram, but I'm liking it so far. Doug's always been telling me I need to get on Instagram. Doug tells me I need to get on everything a bit more, but Doug's saying get on Instagram. A lot of people are on Instagram. A lot of poker fans out there. So I joined Instagram, and I kind of like it now, man. I don't know. It's like a fun little game trying to figure. I don't know. I just kind of post what I'm doing, so it makes it pretty easy to do.
Sup, MP Adam. Oh shit, Jesus with GTO too. Fuck, there's a lot of people. I could keep shouting out people, but Yeah, Instagram is kind of like it's like a bubble. It's so. I always wonder, like, did you? I'm really wondering, did you ever have to take some GTO picture of a chick that wants to make a really nice Instagram picture?
No, not yet.
Because there's this thing, right? Like the unsung heroes of Instagram or something. You see some chick decked out in her fitness outfit, and you see the boyfriend like hanging around in some rope trying to make the perfect picture or something.
I've not done that before. I mean, I think I'd be okay to do that, I suppose. But yeah, the unsung hero. I mean, Lafort on the podcast has been talking about Instagram's the only place to meet hot girls for years. He's been talking about this for 3 years. He said this, and I just joined Instagram maybe a month ago. So I kind of understand what Lafort was talking about when he said Instagram is the only place to meet hot girls, just because you just people slide in the DMs. I don't know. I'm learning more about it. It's a foreign world to me, Lex. I feel like I'm old now. I don't know about Instagram, but it's been like fun sort of figuring out strat, getting in the lab a little bit, reading a couple books, just kind of seeing what people are talking about, what they're saying and what they're advocating for strategy on there.
Yeah, I mean, there's some chicks that do that are on Instagram that are training at the gym, and it's the funniest thing. Like you'll see them on Instagram, and they're like laughing, like happy life, like look at my nice leggings and stuff, And then they're in the gym, and then you're just like, you're in my fucking spot. I need this machine for my routine. I was like, oh, not so bubbly now, It's so. I mean, Instagram is insanely fake, which makes it nice. It's like reality TV in a way. Like reality TV sounds like it's all real, of course, but it's also incredibly fake. But it's so simple. It's so like, this is the product, this is my selling point, like it or not. And I don't know. I think it's a very, very weird thing. Like Dan Bilzerian, I think that the stuff he's doing on Instagram, like it came from a bet or something, right? He said something like, I bet I can have 1 million followers within half a year or something like that. Whereas he was posting on social media. He had like 200 followers for the longest time. I remember following him on Twitter when he had like 150 followers, just because I played him heads up and he was just threatening to pound people in the face, and that he had a briefcase with $1 million in it, and that he just threw some hooker through a table while they were doing like snorting Xanax and stuff. So he already had that stuff, but he just put it out there, and people on Instagram just feed that shit up. I do think there's a lot of people vicariously living through other people on Instagram, but I mean, that's everywhere, right?
Yeah, I think that's it's very true. It's a very accurate statement. I think that most people really do get a lot of entertainment, and it makes sense because most people live a life. They go to work, they go home, they drink a couple beers, they call up their friend Steve, they're in their friend Steve, complain about a couple things, and they go on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, those type of things. And they sort of consume stuff on there. So I think it makes a lot of sense why it's so popular. I guess for me, I don't really consume much on Instagram. I only follow 13 people on there. So I guess my purpose on Instagram is that I just want to sort of tell like a timeline of what I'm doing with my life. And I don't necessarily want to get caught. So I found myself getting caught. I actually unfollowed everyone on Twitter the other day, 602 people. I just unfollowed everyone. And now I'm trying to rebuild that because I just found myself going on Twitter for like, just to check the mentions maybe from a post. And then on 25, 30 minutes, I'm just on there and I'm reading things I enjoy or I'm reading things I like, but just like so many of these little blocks of time, I'm just getting on there. And I feel like I'm consuming a lot of content that isn't necessarily in line with currently what I'm working at or what I want to get better at. And I found it was really draining me when I started thinking more about it. And I feel like that's the trap that most people fall into is they're on Twitter, they're on Facebook, they're on Instagram. They're just consuming. A lot of the content they're consuming, as you mentioned, might not even be authentic. It's just sort of a representation of what that person wants to show you or tell you. So you're taking that in, it's being processed in your mind like, oh, I want to be like this person, when in reality, that person isn't like that at all. It's just the story they're telling. And I feel like that can be toxic for a lot of people out there when they do that.
Yeah, but maybe I mean, it also motivates a great deal of people, right? I mean, a lot of people, I do think that a lot of people do start hitting the gym, and I don't mean in like a way like, size is the prize, swole is the goal, let's go, in a way where it's all.
What did you say? Wait, what did you say?
Size is the prize, swole is the goal, let's go. Don't you know that guy? Robert Frank, dude.
What is it?
Dude, fucking Robert Frank. You should look, I don't know. He's like, you should look at, I'll link him to like Robert Frank on YouTube. He's a fucking legend, man. He's like this gym bro. He's a huge guy, but he makes fun of gym bros. He's like, I don't know. He does all these topics where he's like, yeah, don't fucking slow talk women. You just walk up to the hottest chick you know, with a shirt hanging, with the guns hugging your sleeves and shit, and he just spits in the camera, and he just like very testosterone. So what I'm saying is, like, not everybody needs to get like that, but I do feel like there's a lot of people that are like browsing the internet a lot, and they're seeing like all these success stories or people posting these before and after pictures, and you can follow the whole fucking journey, you know. And I do feel like people take away a lot of motivation from that too. So I do think that there's a good side to it. But yeah, it's definitely, yeah, like the way you're doing it, like this is kind of my trajectory, that's a cool way of doing it. But
I think it's an extreme strategy adjustment. I've kind of always taken those extreme strategy adjustments when I do anything. So I'm trying this extreme approach. We'll see if it works. But I agree that I do take some sort of inspiration or entertainment or motivation from when I see other people that I know doing well. You know, I think maybe before, when you're younger, you hear people talk about if they see someone else that they know do well, they get jealous or they get hurt feelings or they feel like angry at that person. But I think that, you know, I've never really, I guess in recent years, never really felt that way. So a lot of times when I see someone like a Doug do well, or when I see anybody else doing well, I more use that as motivation. I use that as something where I take it in. I'm like, man, that's really great that, you know, he's kind of showing what's possible in poker, or someone outside of poker, like what they show what's possible. So I think that's something to think about too for myself, is that there is a lot of positive to be gained if you can cut out those sort of negative times that might come with it.
Yeah, I think that ever since I started creating content myself, I've been much more appreciative of people who also put out content. It's like less of a competition kind of feel. It's like, oh, cool, he's doing this too, you know? It's like, I feel like all the content creators are doing a really good job of trying to get poker on the map in a very nice way for people to look at and think like, oh, this is very appealing. And like focus less, like for instance, when people were talking about poker Twitter is going crazy, poker Twitter drama, everybody was losing their fucking minds. I didn't see a single tweet. That's how very few people I actually follow, I think. Because some people were, I read a tweet from you and Agrana when you're both like hashtag like poker Twitter losing their mind or going crazy or something. I had no fucking clue what was going on. And I actually really liked that, you know? I don't care who's fucking cursing out who or all that stuff. Like, I read up on some stuff, but then I just think, oh, just some fucking grudge match between the testosterone guy and, you know, and then Kate Hall, and then you watch the match, and it's like, is this all it is? The match was so boring in the end. I was like, I'm so happy I missed all of that, because it's all kind of like just air, you know? That's fine too. I understand that people's personality come out in a different way. Like, I'm not hating on the fact that Kate says she's much more how do you say that, timid or something? I don't know if that's the right word in real life than she is on Twitter, which is fine to me, you know. Like, I fucking cursed out so many people in my life on the internet too. I'm just one of those people maybe, but I just think that just reading about toxicity is just not so great, and I'd much rather watch people who create shit like Doug, for instance. I think that he's doing an amazing job too. But then at the same time, don't take it too serious. I love the podcast with Luke Schwartz. I fucking love that shit. It's so funny. This guy, this fucking guy, this fucking pigeon in his pink sweater, I'll fucking backhand him across the face. It's just so fucking funny to watch him, to hear him say that. But then again, you know, I watched Doug's thing about him, and I think it's awesome. I think that's, I mean, you know, Doug does it more from a content point of view. Luke more from like a really personal frustration point of view. But that's kind of fun to watch because it has some substance, some content goes out of it. But like real like Twitter drama, like, oh, somebody, like the whole thing, for instance, with Jason Mercier and Doug Polk, like he called me a bad drag. I challenge you to heads up. That was the most ridiculous shit ever. Like that is so, oh no, somebody calls you a bad drag. Oh no, somebody said he's better than mixed games as you. No shit, dude. Please let me in on this discussion. This is the most interesting thing. Please put your ego in a bathtub and fuck it. Like it's, yeah.
So what's kind of the thoughts on the Luke versus Doug situation? You know, those two went, you know, Luke came on the pod and they had a little back and forth before that. And now, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen next. I'm very kind of curious to see what does come down, but what's sort of your thoughts from the outside in that situation?
I mean, I think it's like, I mean, I think that Luke is underplaying how good of an angle, Doug has on poker. Like Doug was a struggling mid stakes player who made it to like the very top. That's insanely impressive. He figured out something. He figured out his exactly own way in like a style people weren't really familiar with, or a way of studying people weren't really familiar with, and he did it and he got to the top. Like that'll always have my respect. But at the same time, you can't say that, like, you can't just print Luke's graph and say like, oh, this is Luke's high stakes graph. Like that's I understand for like comedy purposes, it serves the right way, but Jesus fucking Christ, like Luke's a beast. Luke is obviously insanely good at 8-game. Like there's no doubt about it.
Mhm.
He's a good big bet player. He's insanely good at 8-game. If you would really rank people in all-round poker skill, I think Luke ranks very high in the world. You know, because he has all those things. He plays people heads up. He sits people. He's proven himself in a lot of different ways. But so you know, it's fun to follow. But I mean, there's not going to be a heads up match because Doug is never going to do certain games, and they're never going to like each other, trust each other. There's just bad blood. I do think that, in a way, I think that Doug left a world behind in a way that I think that he still struggles to really say goodbye to. The battling, sitting down, hitting the lab. He just doesn't have time for that anymore. You can't blame him for that. He already paid his dues. He already got to the top. Like, what the fuck were you going to say to him? Oh, you're a has-been or something because you don't play it anymore? Guy fucking destroyed everyone. Nobody wanted to play him anymore. I mean, if you can make Sauce question his ability to play Hold'em, then you're just, you're done. Like, your reputation is solid for the rest of times. But, Doug is also switching more into the product thing with Upswing and everything, and his YouTube channel and content creation. So he's just going down this path, and I think he'll stay on there because I think he enjoys it too. But then when somebody calls him out, it kind of hurts you too, because it hurts your pride, because you're like, yo, what the fuck, dude? I got to the top of the mountain. Don't give me shit. But at the same time, you can't say, okay, let's go battle, because then you had to go back into that life and leave all the products that you're working on now behind. Because if he would really want to battle Luke in 8-game, then he just needs to disappear off the planet for 6 weeks. And then maybe he can battle, And that's just not going to happen. So nothing's going to come off that, but it's fun to watch. They're both characters. I think that Doug's videos are great. I think anything that Luke says is fucking awesome and funny. So I don't know. Those are like definitely.
That's a good point. I think that it's going to probably happen more in the future, obviously, as Doug says things about other players and he's more disconnected from the game. Well, of course, then other people are going to shoot back saying, let's play. And then Doug's not going to be in a position where he's really able to play at that high of a level against certain players, so he's not going to be able to say much. So I mean, I think it's tough to sort of just totally leave that world of high stakes poker behind and embrace this new challenge or this new area when what you know the best and what you've spent so much time in is online poker. So it's sort of hard to be like, okay, well, I'm going to fully embrace the entrepreneurship or fully embrace building this content brand when I still love to play poker. It's just that things change, and the action he's getting simply wasn't there anymore. And who knows if it ever would have came back if he kept staying and playing heads up, Nolan Hold'em. So that'll be interesting. I mean, it's just what happens though. When you fire shots, people are going to talk shit back to you. So it makes sense.
Yeah. And I mean, of course, people are going to grab you where you're vulnerable. Like, public graphs is one thing, of course. And then other things is like, the fact that you don't play anymore. It's all like very easy, but it's fucking funny. I mean, you have to be careful though, because I can understand that Luke says stuff like, I need to sell my house to play. Like, you need to be a little bit careful with shit like that when you do have a voice. So I can really understand that Luke's really pissed off about it. But I mean, like, Doug's hitting the gym. I heard Luke about MMA, just fucking fight each other.
Oh,
that would be good.
Doug versus Luke. How tall is Luke?
Luke is like, I would say like 6. So I think Luke is like 182 or something. Like 6 feet.
Listen, if they fight, I'm in. I'd like to watch that fight. I'd like to see that fight. Who do I got in the fight? I'm gonna go. I don't know. I'm gonna go. Doug's at the size advantage. I'm gonna go Doug, a little taller, a little size advantage. If it's like an MMA fight or a boxing, I don't know what it would be, but I'd love to see the fight. Who you got in a fight? Who you got? Who do you think?
It's tough. I don't know. Like, the thing is, like, I don't know how athletic both are. I think that looks like British fucking anger. Like, I just want to fight people and drink. Just to generalize every British person ever. No, but like, I just think that I'll just say that I think that Luke had a little bit less protected upbringing, maybe, in a way, like less secure. Like, I mean, if you have a big mouth like that and you're from England, you're gonna get pounded in the face a few times or learn how to fight. You know what I mean? But Doug has tenacity and stuff. But I don't have any clue to Doug's athletic ability, and that's what you saw with Elkie too, right? Like, Elkie has the drive of anyone. That's why it always annoys me when people say something about, oh, he didn't train enough. Like, you have no idea. But he just doesn't have the athletic ability. So it's really hard to say. Like, it would be... I mean, Doug has insane commitment. And Luke has a big mouth, but doesn't mean anything. So it's too hard to say, man. You probably know better than I do. Who do you have in a fight? Well, you stuck with Doug, right? But he's your boy, so...
He's got the size. I mean, I like Luke a lot. I love Luke. I like chatting with him. I think he's fucking hilarious. I like, he plays a great game of Pop in Omaha, obviously, too. He's opening Jack 6-6-8 under the gun +1 or under the gun +2 in a full ring game. I like Luke. I remember he told that story, and he's like, "You think that's bad?" I'm like, "I don't know what you're trying to. I don't know if you're fucking with me, if you're being serious right now, whatever you're saying right now about opening Jack 6-6-8 under the gun +2. Like, I'm with it, man. You want to open up Jack 6-6-8 under the gun +2 in a full game? You got to open it up, man. You got to do what your heart says." So
yeah, I felt that too in PLO that worked, So we'll see.
Yeah, you follow your heart, man. That's I think people in the chat, it's kind of mixed. Doug versus Luke, it's kind of mixed in here. But obviously, this is never going to happen. We're never going to see it go down. Whether we're going to see another MMA fight, I mean, I don't know. I'm surprised we've seen a couple. We saw, you versus Elkie. We saw the one Brian Rast, the boxing match for Sorrell. We saw JC versus Olivier. They got into it too. I don't know if we're going to see another one like that again, but I don't think Doug will be in it. He don't want to ruin the face. He's got to be on camera. He doesn't want to, if he hurts himself, I don't know.
Going for the bronzer and shit. I mean, if you use bronzers and stuff, I don't know if he does. I don't want to like put it out there, but he looked very fucking dark, and then people made a meme about that, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I don't know if you want to get some dents in your face, but yeah, it's definitely. I don't know. It's crazy that it already happened. I don't know if it's ever going to happen again. I think I do have to say though, because I see a lot of fucking people talking about that. I think that I know you already discussed this, so if you want to move away from that, it's fine. But the Jamie Staples versus Bill Perkins thing is so fucking amazing. I think that is the coolest bet that I've ever heard in my life.
So the Jamie Staples and him and his brother getting within 1 pound of each other.
Yeah.
For 150,000, they put up 3,000 against Bill Perkins.
Yeah, it's just that's such a win-win bet for everyone.
Yeah,
that's like, I think that Bill will gladly lose the bet. If he wins, he'll have some cash, whatever. But no matter what, Jamie and Matt, I think, are gonna have like benefits from that for the rest of their life.
I mean, there's a lot of discussion right now. I think I put a video out there. Doug put a video out there on 2+2. They're very vicious against Jamie Staples when it comes to this particular thing. So it's been kind of interesting. It's been interesting to read because the comments that people make, especially on 2+2, are very mean spirited.
That's fucked. Like, I mean, like, what? Okay, so a guy is overweight. So what? He's a fucking friendly guy. He does what he does. If you don't, that's just the same thing again. Like, you don't like somebody once, okay, you can say, oh, what the fuck? But if you watch again, if you watch somebody again and he does something you don't like, then who the fuck is the idiot? You're the one that keeps coming back. Like, what are you watching?
That's exactly what I used to say. I was like, if you don't like the guy, why the fuck why are you watching? Yeah. Why are you commenting in his threads so much? Why are you watching the video blogs? Why are you watching the Twitch stream? If you don't like the guy, why are you watching and then commenting? I say that about myself. If I ever get any mean comments, it's like, what the fuck are you watching for, man? Why would you spend your time watching someone that you hate? How can that possibly make sense? I'm not going to spend time watching someone that I fucking hate. Just doesn't make sense to me from any standpoint. I just can't understand it. But it seems like a lot of people out there really enjoy doing that, man. They're fucking watching every day. They're commenting. It blows my mind, and I can't wrap my head around it. Maybe someone in the chat who does that can tell me why you might do that. But I don't know. Why do people do that, Lex?
I don't know. That's why I never watch Parker, too.
Bang, bang. What? Well, it's your friend. What are you talking about right now?
There's this clip of me saying something like, we're playing Dota with Parker, and then I'm telling Parker about how I'm planning, because he's in Europe, and how I'm planning to stick an AIDS-infected needle in his side. And he's just like, what the fuck, dude? You always say the most. But people always think I'm serious when I talk to Parker. No, I was just kidding. I love Parker. But yeah, if you, I don't know. I think people just need to reflect something. It's kind of, did you read the 4 Agreements?
Yeah, I read it. Yeah.
Yes, that book is a piece of shit. But I will say, because everybody, no, dude, don't. 4 Agreements. Okay, so let me explain to people that didn't read it, because I can say it in like 5 sentences what it's about.
Okay.
Everybody's fucking raving about this book, right? You see like Bill Perkins, Daniel Negreanu, Fader Holtz all saying like, oh, this is such an interesting book. And so they say like, you have to be impeccable with your word. So they're saying that if somebody says something negative, don't say something negative. Also, don't tear yourself down. Like, don't say like, oh, you fat piece of shit, you should have gone to the gym, but again, you didn't, right? There's no upside to it. Don't say like, oh, you fucking suck at this game, why do you still play it? So like, stay true to your word, which is good, you know? Then they say, don't take stuff personal. So when somebody says, yeah, hey, I don't like this. Well, you don't know what my situation is. I don't know why you're saying this. Let me see. There was, what was the other ones? Let me Google it real quick.
It's be impeccable with your word. Don't take anything personally. Don't make assumptions, and always do your best.
Yes. Okay, so do your best. That's really good. Always do your best. And then also, if you're sick, you can't do as well as when you're healthy. So don't expect yourself to do really well, right? Really great. Don't make assumptions. That one I think is fantastic, because it's like, don't think that you can change people into who you want them to be. Look at what they are and see if it works out or not to be in a friendship or relationship or partnership, whatever you want. Also, don't make assumptions on like, I bet I'm going to come home and my fucking wife is going to say this and she's not going to like this. You know, like, you fill in stuff for people. That's very toxic. But the thing that I hate, the thing about don't take stuff personal, they say like, oh yeah, whenever somebody says something negative, whenever somebody judges you, they don't know your situation. I think that the 4 Agreements, if somebody reads it that has a big ego, he will fucking lift off and get a unrealistic big ego because of that book. Because at this point, somebody with a big ego thinks, you see, I've never had to care about what anybody fucking tells me. I should be impeccable with my words, and I should not take anything personal. So if somebody says, you're a dick, I'm just going to think, well, you don't know my situation. And then it's funny because you see all these fucking people on Twitter, oh, Daniel, it's such a great book. Oh, hey, Bill, you're such a mastermind. What a great book you told me about. These people don't even understand the book because they're just trying to please the people that told them about something, even though they shouldn't. So, I don't know. It's a fucked up book. I don't even know why I got to that, but that book's make me so angry because it's so fucked up, dude.
Yeah, I have this philosopher notes that we usually have read over, and yeah, the don't take anything personally one I've always kind of thought about a bunch. And I hear an echo, but it's okay. Yeah, I mean, if people know you very well, if they're in your life, if they're your friends, or if they're, kind of associate with you, it's kind of, how can you not take a lot of those things personally? I feel like they're telling you out of a place of a lot of information. So exactly. I always think about that. I'm like, well, it seems sort of, I mean, I don't know. It seems like it's not realistic in some scenarios. So that's been the one that I haven't necessarily agreed with, but the other ones I put more weight on, and always do your best. I kind of like how they word that one, and not make assumptions. I like that one too.
Oh yeah, there was that one which you said, like, be impeccable with your word, and there's like that has combinations with don't take stuff personal. So when you come home, oh yeah, also if you stop caring about what other people think, like you have certain actions and they have a certain effect on people. If you stop caring about that, like, I want to trigger my girlfriend. I want to say stuff that triggers her because it leads to desire, right? Like, it leads to like passion, everything. It could lead to like deeper friendship, connection, deeper conversation. If it always just like, yeah, I don't care. Yeah, I really don't like it when you say this and stuff to me. Yeah, but you don't know what's going on in my mind, so can you please just drop that? It's like, what kind of asshole do you turn into? And I do feel like that's some rich people, when they read that book, might think like, this is the best fucking book ever written, because it just gives them a reason to go out of line more. I don't know. I just wanted to say that because I hear everybody fucking in the poker world talk about that book these days, and I just think it's a piece of shit. Also, it could have been 10 pages long, not fucking 80 or whatever it is.
Yeah, I have these notes here, and it's literally 5 pages long, 6 pages long, and I was like, wow, this like really wraps up the book quite well for me. And then I found out it's a whole entire book. I said, well, what else could you take away from the actual reading of the book? I'm not sure. But yeah, I found these pretty good notes sites out there that break down books, and they put the best takeaways from the book for you. So that's sort of how I've been consuming some books lately. And
and I mean, I see Marshall Burns on YouTube saying 4 agreements changed my life. I understand. It definitely can, but it can also turn a lot of people into assholes. I think if you take a random person in the world and he reads that book, there's no telling if he's going to become an asshole or a better person.
I'm going to post the notes in some of these chats if I can for people that are watching right now.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Note site. Everyone wants the note site. That's the note site, boys. Now I should have got an affiliate for that guy. My gosh, man. You see, man, we got a lot of people out there, man. I appreciate all the comments. I appreciate all the questions. People are, you say triggered a lot. Is this your new word, triggered? You've said triggered maybe, I don't know, 55 to 65 times right now.
No, you're exaggerating.
No, I'm not. 60 times. I got to count.
No.
I'm kidding. How do you trigger your girlfriend? What does that mean? I want to know.
No, I mean, like, when you said, you can use triggers for a lot of things, right? It's like you can use it for motivation purposes. You can use it like somebody pisses you off in a certain way. You can use it for like seeing the light in a certain subject. I like to trigger my girlfriend too. Like me and my girlfriend, what I really love about her is that I can make the harshest fucking joke to her. Like really, when people would hear it, you're just like, what the fuck, dude? That's not cool. And it's not, it's not like personal. It's not like trying to hurt somebody, but saying something really trying to, and she can handle it, and she can have the same sense of humor. And I think that's really cool, because then you have like this thing where you don't take each other for granted or something, or you show that you're willing to battle. I don't know. I think it's just really good for relationships. Like people who, if you say something like, fuck, I mean, I can't just invent a joke that people would say to each other. But if you would say something to one another and the other person's like, oh, you really make me feel so dumb when you say something like that. It just makes me feel so uncomfortable. It's like, fuck, now I have to square off all these jokes that I want to make, not do them anymore. And it becomes so much more superficial, you know?
So basically you want someone who can take your humor. That's what you're trying to say. You want someone that isn't going to get offended, isn't going to get their feelings hurt when you make one of your harsh jokes at them.
Yeah, it's much, I think it's much deeper than that when you go into relationships, and you just, if you can do that with people, then you can go all the way, all the time, and it's okay, And that's, I think, that's one of the things in the book, like, don't have any assumptions. If you look at the reverse of that, if people need to have assumptions about you and they can't take it to the level they want, I don't think you can ever really truly be together or something, right? Or have a really deep friendship. Because then there's always that uncommon ground where you can't go, because that's too much.
Yeah, that one gone away in the chat says, LOL, that's called two human beings being savage. Yeah, I think that's very true. That does sound like you guys are just being fucking really savage with each other.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I mean, that's how I personally enjoy being like that. I think when you stream online, when you deal with these commenters, you have to develop a sense of sarcasm. You have to be very sarcastic, I think, I mean, that's how I deal with these comments. I just be sarcastic back. But most people that I deal with, most women and a lot of guys, they certainly cannot handle the sarcasm. And they say, I mean, I don't know. It makes sense though. It makes sense why sarcasm's so hard to deal with, because a lot of times if you lack confidence in yourself and someone says something about you that might make you feel a little bit questioning of yourself or your self-worth or your ability, then I can understand why that would hurt somebody.
Yeah.
So who we got? Let me get a couple questions from the chat, guys. I'm seeing what we got on my list here. Let's see. Streaming poker all day. I got that one. Differences in multi-table tournaments now versus PLO. Do we talk about that? I don't even know. Grind and GTO habits. Do you have any sort of GTO habits that you're doing right now that you feel like have been very efficient and effective for you?
Oh fuck, dude! I live like a saint throughout the week. I mean, I'm drinking a few beers now, but I usually live like a saint, and then in the weekend I just go absolutely fucking mental. So GTO, I don't know. I would say that one thing that I do that really helps me is I make like a to-do list for long term, and then I make like a short-term urgent one. And that makes me so fucking productive, because if you stare at like the long-term one and you look at all these things that you need to do, it kind of creates, a lot of unrest, even though it should be creating some pattern or something. So that's, I mean, for the grind, that's like the short-term list really helps. I mean, just moving around and shit, but I don't know. I think that if you find something that really motivates you, it's like when people say, what should I do to really play poker a lot? It's like when you need to ask that question, you don't get it. You do it because you want to do it. You need to find something that triggers you. And in a way, I think a very good answer to that, where people can bounce back at you and say like, well, that's easy for you to say you found it. And that's true, but you can apply that to a lot of things in life. So I don't know. I could never do something without being triggered by it. Oh shit, there it is again.
Remember, I said you've said it a lot. You don't even realize you're saying it, I think.
Yeah, maybe, yeah, probably.
Let me see some comments in the chat. Questions. Does Lex have gray hair? Or am I just fucking blind? No, doesn't look gray to me, boys.
What the fuck? Dude? Oh, fucking gray as a cloud.
Well, how old are you, Lex? How old are you right now?
I don't know, 33, but you guys try playing PLO for 4 years. See how you look.
I don't have gray. Well, my voice is going away right now, but I do have some gray hair. My hairstylist said the person that cuts my fucking hair, she said that I'm getting gray in my hair. So I really think that PLO drove me fucking insane. So yeah. I have no doubt PLO did something like that intense every day for fucking 5 years, 6 years. That has to do something to your brain. It just,
I don't know. I don't think that playing Dota for 60 hours really helped. Some stuff like that, just very stuff that just really wasn't necessary. I don't think it really helped. I think there's going to be a point where my body stops working and just an arm falls off, and I'm just going to be like, oh yeah, that's all those fucking long sessions when I was 20, Yeah,
60 hours playing Dota may not have been GTO. I agree.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was fun though. Like, what Parker, I watched the podcast that you did with Parker. It was really fun because that story that Parker told was true. He said we've been playing for 16 hours. It was actually way more than that. Like, I remember I was playing for 5 hours and I was kind of like depressed, depleted from the Supernova Elite grind, and I had like 100,000 VPP to go and I needed like a week break. And I talked to Parker, and I was already playing Dota for 5 hours, and he joins me, and we play for like 25 hours, and now we're playing like 30. So I've been playing 30 hours. And then Parker's like, dude, I gotta go to bed. I'm so fucking exhausted. I'm just gonna fall asleep. I just kept saying like, never fucking contact me again. You're not my fucking friend. I need to play right now. Like, it's only been 30 hours, you fucking pussy. And then he comes back after like 12 hours of sleep, and I've been awake for like 45. And I'm just like, okay, let's go. And we played another 20 hours, It's probably not very GTO, but it was.
Dare I say GTNO? Probably not GTNO. Yeah, it's true. But I don't know, man. I think you learned some things from that. You become. I'm trying to take a positive out of this. I think.
Nope.
You get hardened. You're able to. It makes 10 hours seem easy. So now when I think when I put in 8 hours, 10 hours, that's like easy. So yeah. I think that when you do those long grind sessions, those. I mean, I don't know, man. It's probably way more worse negative than it does positive. But model in the chat says drugs. Ask him about drugs, Poppy. What's up with drugs these days, man? Checkio, what do you want? What's the deal with that?
Oh no, Checkio is a concentration supplement. Like, I've been whenever I have like pretty bad ADD when I'm behind computers or trying to do stuff. So I always used to try Concerta, everything. I'm convinced that I would play at night because I would be more numbed down. There would be less influences from outside. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So that I could play like calmly. There's nothing to do. There's no friends to call. There's no fucking TV to watch. There's nothing to do. So I do think that I'm very sensitive to influences, and of course that also results in like experimenting with Adderall. What's it called? The Dutch version? I don't even know anymore. Concerta. It's like it's Adderall but way watered down. So like that shit, like people come into my chat all and ask about that stuff, but it's that shit is just very toxic and not good. Like anything that long term destroys your brain is not good. So I mean, the checker that they're talking about is a concentration supplement that I use that's completely herbal, and it's given me all the benefits of like stuff like Adderall without having any of the disadvantages. So yeah, that's been really working for me. But like drugs and stuff, I rarely do. I really like alcohol because drugs makes me more like because of the ADD. Whenever I would do drugs, I get more into like a prison or something. Like I like the focus. I calm down. You know, it's not an upper anymore.
Mhm.
It's almost like an anti-ADD thing. That's why I think that people like crave Adderall and shit like that so much. You know, so that's why I don't really like drugs, because it makes me just kind of like a boring person. I just sit, I think, I'm very calm, I feel very at ease. I just want to play video games. I just want to play poker, stuff like that. And whereas beer makes me very like excited, like raging and stuff. So
You mentioned something interesting about playing at night, which is something I always used to do too, because there were less distractions, especially if you had a lot of friends or any girls you were dating, or there's just, you want to go outside because people tell you it's sunlight, you want to go outside. So it seemed like a lot of my grinding also gravitated towards overnight as well too. And I never really thought about it from that perspective, that could have been a reason why. It just kind of seemed like that's where it always ended up.
yeah.
So it's and I guess you mentioned about drugs. There are certainly some drugs that can bring you up. I think a lot of the focus drugs, the Adderalls, Vyvanses, a lot of the other stuff that's out there does sort of make you less rah-rah, less energetic, less that type of attitude. So that makes sense why you enjoy alcohol, and it gives you that sort of let's get after it feeling. Whereas you've tried other drugs before, some of the other drugs that are more uppers that do get you a little bit kind of hyped up.
Yeah, I mean, in the past, I've always done very moderate amounts, but I've experimented. I mean, I'm a very experimental person. I always want to try, see what's out there. So I don't like E and Coke and stuff like that, but it's just like, just makes me fucking shut off, you know? And it wasn't that always a bad feeling or something, but it just makes me shut down and go into my own world and stuff. And people would always be like, why are you so quiet? Are you feeling okay? And it's just like, yeah, it's just, you know, the thing, like, I would be very uncomfortable doing it in big groups as well, for instance, because everybody's expecting this party feeling, and I'm just like, what the fuck's going on, you know? I just don't. It just makes me feel very focused and centered in a weird way. But then, of course, there's also like it's very easy to discern that there's a lot of long-term disadvantages with it. That's why people that use it to grind, it's just very toxic for you because it's not sustainable. You start sleeping worse, your eating habits go to shit. Your general life quality just goes down. And also the problem is that a lot of people that have problems that grind on Adderall and other uppers, you get used to grinding at a certain energy level that you can't supply naturally. So after that creates addiction, you know, it creates a craving, like, oh, I feel so gassed out, I can't focus, you know. Yeah, why? Because you're fucking using chemical energy. You know, so that's why it's so bad. You see it with gamers a lot too. Gamers abuse Adderall and stuff is because they want to stay awake, and then, you know, you have a big performance and you can't do without because you're just used to performing at a certain energy level. That's what I thought is really interesting about Jared Tandler's Mental Game of Poker 2. He talked about that energy level thing, and that's what I realized, because when I went from a nighttime schedule to a daytime schedule, I had to readjust very much because I thought like my mind was fucking jumping around because I wasn't dumbed down. You know, I wasn't numb from the night grind or tiredness, or I was very energetic, and it wasn't the state of energy I wasn't used to grinding on. So I had to get used to the fact that this is how I feel now. Like, you know, control it, get used to it. But if you get used to a state based on chemicals, then you can never do it naturally anymore. And that's when you become dependent. That's when it becomes an addiction. And then it's very easy to show that there's like long-term health disadvantages when you use that shit. So don't do that.
Yeah, I wonder, I've always thought about what are the long-term, because I guess, you know, what happens if you do Adderall for an extended period of time, or you do these ADHD drugs for an extended period of time. So is there a lot of research that you've seen out there that sort of shows the potential negatives from it?
I mean, it's just like living patterns too, right? I mean, have you ever seen a person on Adderall eat a lot? I mean, have you ever seen them like go to bed at like whenever they want? They
Yeah.
always play like iPhone games, shit like that, or they always kind of zone out or crack out on stuff, and it's never good. And they start binge eating, and your body goes from catabolic to needing nutrition to it just goes all over the place, and that's not sustainable. Like your body needs a steady schedule. So yeah, I mean, plus also, I mean, it's pretty known that amphetamines destroy your brains, right? Like you lose brain cells, and of course, like some stuff is worth losing brain cells for. I think, like raging, partying, whatever. You find new experiences. Like when people say, "I don't have to drink, I always have fun," that's fine, and I respect always people's wishes, but I don't agree with that saying at all, because I think if I would name the most 10 legendary nights I've had with my friends, everybody's completely fucked up or drunk. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like that's always worth it. But to put that like consistently in your daily schedule, something like that just eats away at all your habits, your body, everything, that's just fucked, dude. And that's why, I mean, it's not like a fucking sales pitch, but that's why I like Checkio, because it gives me that focus out of plants and stuff, and not chemicals.
How much Techio pay you?
Yeah, fuck off, dude.
You on the payroll? How much they get? How much you get? How much they pay you for this one, man?
Probably
God,
not
they're cutting this out. They're putting this up as an ad, aren't they? My God, holy fuck! They need more people need to hire you for the spokesman, man. That was good.
Probably not as much as Grind Nation pays you, dude.
Yeah, Grind Nation. Bang bang. What do you mean? You trying to be you mad you ain't in Grind Nation? You trying to be in the Grind Nation, Lex?
No, dude. Doing my own thing.
We could use a Dutch guy in the nation, man. You know, come join the fucking team, man.
Still space, dude.
Oh man, this is funny. King Kaiser said, "It is so amazing to hear you and Joey talking about the life and poker." King Kaiser, 1988. Much love, Poppy. Much love. Yeah, man. It seems like I kind of want to go back and watch our first podcast. It feels like there's, that was maybe more poker. Now it's kind of shifting as me and you both evolve as individuals. We both start learning more about what else is out there in the world outside of just grinding. It seems like the topics sort of they shift a little bit from those to these other type of things that maybe before we didn't care about at all because we were just so poker focused all the time.
Yeah, I think it's really weird because I think that the podcast that we did 2 years ago when I was still grinding a lot, I think that if you would have had that podcast 5 years before that, we would have had the same thing. But I think that this podcast is right after some realizations, some new directions that we both taken. So I think that's it's, I don't know if it's like reaching your 30s or, well, how old are you? 29?
31.
31. All right. So I don't know if it's like reaching your 30s that you kind of like take new roads that people do or something, or just kind of like, holy shit, that was the craziest shit I've went through the last 10 years. How am I going to use that?
Mm-hmm.
You know, how am I going to utilize all this life experience, all these lessons that some people don't get even till they're like 50th or 60th year, like the money pressure we've been through, and all the situations, all the planning, all the responsibility that you had to take for yourself. Like some people don't learn that their whole life. And that's what I really take away from poker. It's like nothing can ever challenge me like that. So now I know my skill set, I know my limits, also with kickboxing and stuff, like I know my physical, my mental limits. How am I going to utilize this to be successful?
Yeah, I mean, when I wrote my book, Taking the Poker Dream: Qualities of a Successful Poker Player, shout out to me. That was like I was able to access this little, I was able to access this this subconscious sort of state that I used to always access when I played poker. I start writing, and all of a sudden, all these things come out, and it was all about my sort of poker career and like what made me a good poker player, what the qualities were, and I learned a lot about myself, and that was in at the end of January. So I think that's where like a lot of these new ideas for myself I've been kind of thinking about more, and I've noticed myself becoming a little bit more disconnected from poker itself and the poker community, just as I'm learning more about all this other stuff. So it's like I want to read about this, I want to learn more about that. So I think maybe that's what it is. It's just once you learn more about what else is out there and you meet different people, you start to realize like, hey, I've been doing this for so long, maybe it would be cool to learn about some other things.
Yeah, it's also like developing, right? And I think that poker is also, I think that, for instance, me, you, or Doug, whatever, you even see it with Negreanu, right? Like, what's Negreanu's end game with YouTube? I think he just likes to be content out there. Same with Doug. Like Doug is building a platform, but it's all still out of appreciation for poker. Like that's how your Poker Life podcast started, right? Like let's highlight the side of poker that people don't usually see. Let's bring more light to like PLO and stuff and the grinders behind it or the characters. And that's cool. It's just you just want to show, it's just out of appreciation. And obviously you have a lot of know-how about the whole industry, but it's a much more backside ambassador kind of way that you're going about it now, which is relaxing too.
What do you mean?
It's relaxing. Like I think that it's very relaxing for me now. Like whenever people ask me on my channel, hey, can we see your profits graph? First of all, I drink my face off every Friday while I play tournaments. Sometimes I register bounty builders just to go all in every hand. Like I'm not gonna do shit like that and then show you guys this is my ROI and everybody like, have you seen this ROI, this or that? It could be higher. Yeah, no fucking shit. You're like putting up an entertainment platform. Also, you feel like I just paid my dues, so please don't talk to me about proving that I'm winning. I haven't had a job ever in my life. I'm 33 years old. I make enough money. I don't need to tell anybody like, please verify that I'm successful enough at poker. So I don't know.
Deep in thought over there, kid.
Yeah,
you feel like you're going to be doing this similar thing now for the next couple of years, or do you feel like at some point in time you might want to potentially transition into something else?
When I was like 20 and I started playing poker, I thought like I'm going to do this 5 years and then become financially independent and then maybe do something else. And now I kind of just think if I enjoy something and I obviously know how to find something for myself, what to enjoy, how to challenge myself, why would I really put a time limit to it? I really enjoy streaming now. I mean, maybe it's really weird to see a guy that's like 40 in 7 years to see him stream. But if I fucking enjoy it and people will watch it, and who cares, I mean, there's more dinosaurs on Twitch and everywhere. And maybe there's a new platform, or maybe I'll completely move away from it and like start trading houses here or stock trading. I don't know. But I'm kind of done with planning ahead and thinking like maybe I'm going to do this for a few years and then do that. Like I'm just going to do something that it's so obvious too. When you do something and it gives you a lot of energy and you get really creative around it, then that's what you should be doing if you have the room to do it. So, yeah.
A lot of good stuff in there, man. A lot of good stuff out here today. It's been a fun podcast, man. I feel like anytime I have some of the guys on who play cash games, there's always it's a different sort of conversation, a different sort of different vibe to the conversation. So just kind of unfortunate there aren't really a lot of cash game players quite left that are still active, even in any. I mean, it's just there's so many more tournament players, so many more guys that play, I guess, live. So it's been interesting for myself doing the podcast as I'm trying to think like who do I want to have on, and I don't know. I sometimes the list sometimes in my mind becomes a little bit shorter. It becomes like who do I want to have on the podcast? Who do I want to talk about or show off? And I don't know, it's a question I find myself sometimes struggling to answer these days. In that, that's why I have a lot of the old people, the repeat guests on that I'm friends with, or I know, or I just want to talk with.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, there's a lot of new interesting characters. Like, I mean, like you could have fucking Parker come on 8 more times and it'll be interesting, I mean, stuff like that. That's at least that's the cool thing I think about the current poker climate. So like, there's new characters coming to the top, and that's a really good sign, I think, because people there's always a debate about should somebody be interesting when he's on TV, or is he just doing his profession and should just maximize his EV?
Right.
You can argue both sides of the argument. I mean, should somebody wear a suit or nice clothing when they're on a big final table, or should they just wear something comfortable because they're playing for their living, But I think that with the current sportifying, I mean, some ventures are just a little bit ridiculous. But with the current sportifying, gamifying of poker, and at least trying to make it hip in a way, at least what it's doing is bringing characters to the foreground and some people who are putting themselves in the foreground. And that's just something that, for instance, like, Parker has done, and, some other streamers as well. And of course, just people who play tournaments now that are also very vocal, very out there. And I think that's really cool to see. So, I mean, if you stick to those people, that's fine too, right?
Yeah.
People stop playing, you know.
It's true. They do stop playing. That's a great point. Someone in the chat, and Antiquity says, Joey have Linus Love or Limitless. I had Limitless on the podcast in January, so you can find that podcast on my YouTube channel. Kush Strain says, ask him who he admires in the poker world.
Anybody that's still around, adjusting. I admire that, because I think that's it, in the end the skill you need to have. Like if you're traveling to a live circuit, playing like soft tournaments, if you can work yourself up in a tournament world, if you used to play tournaments, now you play online, or the other way around. Like anybody who's adjusting, finding a spot where you can make money, I admire that. I also really admire people who've been around for ages, like Negreanu, Seidel, Ivy, Antonius, people like that. I mean, even like Antonio Filak, you know, I mean, people know that I really don't like Antonio, but what he does in poker, I greatly respect.
Lex, got a story for you. Okay. Got a story, Lex. So, you know, a couple months back, I was shooting a show in Las Vegas with Poker Central. I don't know if I'm supposed to say the name, but we were shooting the show. And one of the days on the show was Jeff Gross, Brian Rast, and Antonio Sfandiari. Okay. Mm-hmm. So we get done wrapping up the show, and talk about comes up, let's go to dinner. Now, you know, in this spot, I'm getting like flashbacks to the dinner conversation you had. I'm like, man, I really want to see what one of these dinners is like. Okay, so we go to a dinner at a place at the Aria, a very nice place. And then what happens is a couple other people, 4 people end up joining the dinner, Lex. And it was a great time, a great environment. It was a dinner. I think if Antonio invites you to dinner, anyone in the future, you should definitely go, because it'll be a fun time. And I think you should have went to that dinner, Lex. I think you should have went, man. That's what I learned after that dinner. I just think you should have went.
All right. Not gonna happen.
You don't no comment on that, huh?
I mean, like, what do you want me to say? Like, I'm not gonna rehash the story, but he has his views on what happened. I will say this, like the way he said it in your podcast with you, he fucking made it seem like I was expecting him to pay for 6 of my friends or something. What happens was, it's like, I want to go to dinner as a group because I had a meeting with my friends. And then he's like, no, I want to keep it exclusive. It's just going to be you, me, Phil, and Jennifer. I was like, dude, are you fucking kidding me? Like, no. And he's like, you do know what I'm asking you, right? I was like, yeah, okay, dude. I mean, I don't want anybody to fucking pay for my friends or anybody, so. But, I mean, maybe, yeah. I mean, a lot of people that I like are friends with him, so. But, like, 2 people don't always have to get along.
Guess what? I invited a friend with me, too.
Well.
I'm kidding. I didn't invite a friend. Listen, I don't know. The story came up. Antonio came up. I thought about it. Was just the entire time I just thought about the story you told on the podcast. So I was like, man.
It's funny. I mean, it's funny. It's just like him. Let's just say, like, the way me and him like to do certain things, probably neither of us is right, but they're just completely not aligned. And that creates friction, right?
I think put you guys in a room with some beer and some wine, I feel like you guys get along.
Probably. Yeah, probably. I agree with you. I actually agree with you. You know, I'll drink beer, he can drink Dom Perignon.
Or wine.
Or beer. Take some pictures while we're talking for Instagram, you know.
I don't think he even does Instagram, technically.
I don't fucking know, dude. Whatever. Like I said, like a lot of people reached out to me. Some people said, like, yeah, I think you're right. Other people said, like, yeah, I think he's a really nice guy. So it doesn't really matter. It's just something like, okay, so 2 people didn't get along. It got too big anyway. It doesn't matter. You know, people don't always have to get along, and we definitely didn't. So.
One of the first classic Poker Live podcast stories, I believe, was that. Oh man, What do you got planned for these next couple of months, Lex? Planning streaming pretty consistently here?
Yeah, I think I'm gonna play WPT Amsterdam in 3 weeks. Maybe some WSOP. WSOP is coming to Holland too. Like, fucking Holland is building a road for tournaments. So maybe play that too. Also, because we can play tax-free in the Holland casino. And then stream nonstop. So I don't know. I'm canceling most of my shit. I've had a lot of DDoS attacks, a lot of internet issues. Some people who were very butthurt about getting banned or something. I don't know. Maybe somebody I beat on the stream. But I've been getting a lot of internet attacks, but that seems over now. So took some precautions, and now we're just back to streaming. It's, you know, like I said, it's what I like the most at the moment and what I want to do.
Well, I think it'll be fun. What's the concurrent viewers right now? Did you say the number? What's it up to?
What do you mean, like my viewers?
Yeah, like because you mentioned like 3,000 earlier. Is that what you're getting per stream, or what's kind of like the average viewer count right now?
I would say that I'll reach like 2,300 viewers every stream. And then I have spikes to, like, if I go deep in a tournament, I'll have spikes to 6,000-7,000.
That's awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah, it's really fucking crazy because, like, one of my moderators showed me a picture that I was like number 9 on Twitch. And I remember I watched so much Twitch in my life. I watched like the top 10, see who I liked. You see these people, I was like, holy fuck, these guys have like 5,000 viewers. That's unfucking believable. And that, I don't know, it's really surreal when shit like that happens. Like, it's crazy too. Like, I mean, those streams are special, right? It's not like that happens. Like, oh, it's deep in the Big 22. We have 6,000 viewers in here. That never happens. But when you're like playing a bigger day and you go deep and stuff and you get that amount of viewers, it's a really special feeling. It's like getting cheered on, you know?
That's awesome, man. It seems like if you keep this up, it's only going to keep getting bigger and bigger. Obviously, we see what's possible out there with someone like a Jay Carver and the audience he has. So, I mean, it seems like if you keep it up, it's only going to keep growing and growing.
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. Like, I mean, when I had 600, I always said if we keep it at this level, I'm fine with it too, and I truly meant that. But like now, you wonder like, what's the ceiling? And I don't know. Like maybe North America is more mature when it comes to Twitch and online presences, but we'll see. I mean, there's a fuck ton of Russians. I know some Russian words, so. There's a big Russian market as well on Twitch, but maybe Europe just is developing right now. But I think with the nighttime schedule, North Americans will always get more viewers too, because like the biggest tournaments that I'll play in a day are like the 215 Thrill, 215 Tuesday. That's the biggest tournament there is in a daytime schedule, whereas they have like the 1Ks, you know. So there's always that more excitement with buy-ins, but. Let's just hope that the product is interesting enough and people like to hang out there and the community is good enough. Like I have a very non-toxic online community, which I very much like. So I love the people in the chat and everything.
What are you gonna play for the scoop during the buy-ins? Which ones are you planning?
Well, it's kind of funny because people always ask me like, that's the #1 YouTube comment. I even see it in the comments like while we're speaking. You know, people just say shit like, "Where did his bankroll go? What is he doing?" Like, oh, you know, they always go from. You know, I'm playing 4 tables. I'll be playing like the Hot 162, a $100 tournament, a $40 bounty, and then like an $11 bounty tournament. And they always pick the lowest buy-in and they start ragging about it. So they always say from high stakes poker to $11 buy-ins. Well, first of all, be fucking happy that I can still be excited about winning $2,000 or $3,000, right? Second of all, I don't want to show people that. I think it's a very bad lesson to show people. Okay, what buy-ins can I afford? I'm playing a new game. I'm just going to play this. Especially when it concerns PLO and switching from like Hold'em to tournaments. You can't do that. It's a whole new thing you need to learn. So I want to show people like the learning curve. So when I started, I played like the Big 22, the Big 1650, the Bounty Builder 30, because I needed to see like how am I doing? Where do I get in the field? I'm not just going to, because if you just a person that just registers people, then you're the fun player. And if there's one thing I don't feel like feeling is like the fun player. So I've been building it up. So now I play like all the higher buy-ins, the highest buy-ins I can play during the day because I'm always going to stick to my schedule. But now I got to a point where for Scoop, I'm considering like starting to play 2Ks and stuff. So, you know, we'll see how that goes. I'm still going to pick the formats I'm best at, the softest ones, because it is like a new thing you start, you know. So I've shown to myself I can beat the toughest tournaments throughout the week. Let's progress to some of the bigger buy-ins. It's a different time zone, and you know, maybe I'll end up grinding all the high rollers, everything that there is by this time next year. But we'll see. We'll see. It's going to be a test. I think I'm going to spend a lot on Scoop.
Which markup will you be charging to your viewers during this 1.7, or what are you trying to be in line with other streamers, or what are you thinking about doing for that? I can't sell
for online events because of Dutch taxes, because they don't give a shit about what percentages you sell. So I would have to pay taxes over the money that I didn't win. So I never sell for online events ever. For live tournaments, I mean, if it's like, if it's like some juicy big ass tournament, I usually sell like 1.5 or something. But I don't know. It's also like a way where it has to be worth it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yayo says, if you play the $11 scoop, you're going to play with Luke Schwartz's grandma. That's true. Luke Schwartz on the podcast said his grandma is going to be coming out. Everyone comes out for scoop. Anyone can fucking beat scoop. His grandma's playing the $11 crazy 11 or whatever it's called. So yeah, man, you might encounter Luke Schwartz's grandma at the table if you decide to play the $11 scoop events.
I mean, I'm going to play them. Yes. I mean, like I said, like it's a fun tournament to watch. I mean, in the end, you also have to think about your platform. Sometimes I'm playing tournaments, and if I would take a step back, I can't believe that I'm playing a certain tournament, But it's everything combined. It's Twitch, the people watching, the people want to see you win. You want to teach people the excitement that it brings. In the end, it doesn't really matter what you play. It's everybody just likes the game of poker. And I mean, I would be one rotten son of a bitch if I couldn't get excited about playing a tournament with the 10K first place.
All right, let's see where we're at here. Anything else you want to bring up, Lex? I feel like we could let this go on for 24 hours at some point in time, but I'll keep it. I think 2.5 hours might be good to keep it on for right now, and then we can catch back up here in a couple of months. If you're not, so you're for series, you're not going to go though. You're done. Sure.
Like no way.
No way. Okay.
No way. I mean, EPT Barcelona is always like on the lookout. That's definitely one of the best live tournaments there is. So. Best experiences. So I would always pick spots like that, but I'm gonna keep it pretty close to home. So probably play some Holland Casino tournaments, WPT Amsterdam. Scoop's gonna be big, and then WCoop just fucking grind it out. Me and my girlfriend are kind of playing around with the fact that we might want to live in like Thailand, something like that, for the winter.
Cool. That'll be fun, man. If you live in Thailand, I mean, I think. Well, you have a girlfriend, so it might not be as much fun as it could be. Allegedly, what I hear from Thailand, one of the big appeals is the women, and there's I just heard stories. But Thailand, obviously, great weather, great scenery.
Yeah, but I mean, we both love Thai food, and the cool thing, like, if you live in Europe, you can go to Sofia, Ljubljana, Barcelona, Vienna, like all these cities. You're like, what the fuck are these people? No, they're cities, Joey. So you can go to all these cities. And travel around within like 2-3 hours. But when you live in like some nice island on Thailand, you have nice weather. I could eat Thai food for the rest of my life. And I love hot weather, beaches, everything. I could get back in some kickboxing, and we could just like travel to Seoul, Tokyo, all that stuff. So it's kind of nice. It sounds nice to do that with each other for like half a year, 7 months. And I would just stream from there,
That sounds awesome. I'm excited to hear. It sounds like you're doing great, man. You're in a great place. You got a healthy relationship, and things are looking up, man. So it's cool to see, man. Most people have thought maybe if you grind so hard, our brains get fried. But
no, dude,
it's nice to see that's not the case here.
No, I definitely got dumber through the years, but I'm a little bit smarter now in a life sense.
Yeah. Also, obviously, Thailand, people in the chat mentioned this. How did I forget the ladyboys? Of course, the ladyboy culture in Thailand is popping off. The ladyboy grind is one of the most legendary grinds you can go on. The LBG. I don't know if you'll be taking play. I don't know what y'all are into. Couples these days are experiment. I don't know what's happening, but just let us know what the ladyboy culture is like out there, please. Thank you very much. So, guys in the chat, that's what we got. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for all the comments. Be back Wednesday with. You can check him out on YouTube, Dr. Ivan Joseph. He's got a talk on self-confidence. He's got some other stuff out there. It's really great. We're going to talk about self-confidence. And we're going to discuss it in a poker sense, in a general sense. And I think that if you're interested in being more self-confident, you're really going to enjoy this podcast. And then next Monday, I'm going to be back with one of the guys in my GTO club. His name is On Gun. His name's on screen on my Poker Stars is Wayne DeBang. And he's our only tournament player in the group. If you look up his graph, he's one of the smartest people I've ever met in my entire life. Some of those most wisdom I've ever met in my entire life. And he's been doing really well. So I said, hey, man, I'll have you on the podcast. That's next. He actually lives in Amsterdam. So that's going to be next Monday. And I think that people are really going to enjoy that as well. So if you want to check out Lex, what's your Snapchat, man? Where can people find you on Snapchat?
Snapchat is my name, Lex Veldhuis. Same as my Twitch, twitch.tv/Lex Veldhuis. Yeah, those are the two important ones. And shout out to my viewers. Shout out to my mods. Like, those fucking guys are incredible. They keep everything happening every day. They keep me in line. So shout out to my girlfriend. Yeah.
I like it, man. Big shout to Bruno. I know Bruno's the moderator in your chat. Shout out to Scarlett. Panda. Yeah. All right, guys. That's what we got. Make sure you check out the clothing. GTO's away. I'm putting out a bunch of clothing. Lex, I decided I'm all in on clothing. I'm just going to make all these dumb sayings into fucking shirts because I love them. Hashtag more rake, pigeons. Yeah, pigeon on it. I mean, man, we're just getting carried away over here, but I don't know, man. I need some new stuff. So that's what we got, guys. Much love. Adios, everybody. Shout out to my ex, Gary Devaney says. And that's it.